All cars staged up and ready to go. $101 in the 8th mile for Jeff Richardson in that big, clean Chevelle, 1068.3, 126. Clerico side of the drag strip, 1124.8 at 119 for the Nova. Greg Pecorano coming up right now. Pecorano in the Wagzilla, the 10-second LSA-powered CTSV wagon. I was actually shocked that General Motors actually built that car. I don't think they sold many of them, and it wasn't around for long, but it is cool.
We're going to have to write a rule around that. We need more suffering than he's actually experiencing in that Cadillac.
If you're going to have heated seats, you must lock them on high for the entire week. 1477.5 at 84 for Pecorano. 1454.1 at 95 for the Mustang on the Clerico side. Yeah, when we can start dictating the level of the suffering that people, that's kind of a good thing. The index, the suffering index.
What's the suffer factor on that deal, Brian?
The suffer factor of the Cadillac is far too low. Banned.
Kyle Coy in the right-hand lane here, the silver 67 Chevy Camaro. Street race, once again meaning stock suspension. Big block, power adder. This guy's got an average of 895. I'd like to see him tickle it into 8s, which he didn't do yesterday.
And Al Casita, the beautiful and fairly hot-rodded Galaxy 500, big heavy car over there on the Clerico side.
The Camaro turning the tire off the line, huffing quite a bit.
Bunch of smoke rolling out of that thing. He goes 875 of the 6 at 164 miles an hour, and Al Casita goes 1197.3 at 112. I know you were looking out the window like I was. Did you see Corey coming out the start? He looked like he was driving an old funny car out there.
Yeah, exactly.
His hands on the wheel.
It was
awesome.
It was almost at fuel altered levels of goodness. He is holding on to the number 2 position in his class, and that is going to improve him, and he is going to be duking it out with Doug Flynn, who's got that red 72 Nova with engine dangling out of the hood. Krusty Nova, far lane. It was a run out of Bryant Goldstone in the Javelin. And in the far lane, you've got this guy on his very first trip to Drag Week, twin-turbo Mopar Predator-headed deal in his very first car, the Primered 72 Dart. That thing is leading the class in Pro Street Power Adder. Matt Blasco, it's a 770 car. This is going to be drama. I cannot wait to see what happens with this all-steel AMC Javelin.
Yeah, Blasco did not enter his first drag week quietly. He busted through the wall like the Kool-Aid man in that thing, running in the 7s all week, and it has looked rock solid. Meanwhile, Goldstone has tried. He tried desperately to get down to the 6s yesterday. Did not get there at Great Lakes Dragaway. I was saying it was the top of first gear the car was spinning the tires. It was when he grabbed second. This thing will 60-foot at like 110, 115, but watch about 200 feet out. If the car stays glued to the track, you're going to see a 6-second number on the board. Oh, a big pop out there and a tire shaking launch for Goldstone.
Oh. He drives it on out. Now, why he would be doing that is he knows in case he's got an unfixable problem, he needs to put down the best number he possibly can, rolling the dice that whoever is ahead of him is also going to break or run poorly. Sometimes it becomes a real card game.
That is the first time we have seen his car actually shake the tires all week, and I'm thinking maybe they underestimated the grip available out here on the starting line at Cordova International Raceway. Tires shake a function of normally one of two things. And the more common thing is that you do not have enough wheel speed. Too much wheel speed, normally you just spin the things, but not enough wheel speed, especially with those giant slicks on the back. They start to fold up on themselves like you would find, those little red jelly balls you used to play with on the playground as a kid. Think about that and how easily you can take that ball and kind of fold it on itself. A slick will do the same thing with all the power applied to it. You get into a shake situation where the tire starts folding and unfolding rapidly. He caught it early and pedaled it, but a 928 at 132 miles an hour is not the number Brian Goldstone was hoping for. Neither is the 1698 at 33 for Blasco. Blasco came up the starting line like we've seen him do every day, and then all of a sudden, things went wrong for him at just about 330 feet.
I'm getting news that once again we are back live on the internet. We've been having some issues here this morning, but finally our intrepid staff has worked through it, and we should be live on the internet. In the past few days, we've had as many as 5,500 people at a time watching from all over the world. We have had at the end of the day, I think we ended up yesterday about 62,000 views by the time I went to bed. So it is really cool to find out The people are looking in Saudi Arabia and in Finland and Sweden and Aruba and the Caribbean.
I'll tell you, we are huge in Uzbekistan. I think we can take this show on the road in Uzbekistan and clean up over there. So thank you all for tuning in, whether it's Uzbekistan or down the road here in Indiana. It is a fantastic, fantastic weekend. It has been, or a fantastic week, I should say, that still has a lot of legs left to it.
And once again, I want to thank Eastwood Company for supporting this live feed. We apologize to them and everybody for the issues this morning, but I think we got this thing tied down, and we will be live today and again tomorrow, Friday from St. Louis, and on Saturday for the Drag Week Heads Up Shootout.
These are promises, not threats, people. Just understand that. It's going to happen.
I hope so, and it looks like we're keeping the track dry so far here too. We are hustling cars as fast as we can down the track here at Cordova, trying to get everybody to have at least one run so that we've got the day locked down and we can have a 5-day average at Drag Week instead of a 4-day average. It's always kind of a drag when that happens. In fact, Eddie Miller is the guy with the asterisk because he's, what did we run that year? 3 days because the rain was brutal, and he won overall. And his many detractors on the internet will throw that in his face many times. But you know what? They probably weren't the guy who were standing here driving in the rain on their 15-inch wide ET streets.
Well, there's that too. You got to give him credit for that fact that yes, maybe there was 3 days of racing, but the driving on the road with those big tires, you're literally limited to 10 to 15 miles an hour if you're brave, and less than that. Of course, over the years, we've seen guys in showers literally pull it over, lay a tarp across the windshield, and sit there until it stopped. And you can't really blame them. Those big, giant, wide tires on any sort of a moist surface become like huge flotation devices, and it is weird to try to get one down the street.
We have had some ugliness, too. Do you remember Prospero's wagon when he whipped that thing around on the highway and broke the trail off? It looked like a yard sale. He had his junk all over the side of the road.
We were in Arkansas that night. We were driving across Arkansas to go back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was a 400-mile drive that night to get back to Tulsa for the final day a couple years ago. And they were biblical storms. You drive, you go for 20 minutes, and then we were in a rental car. You couldn't see anything. Then you would get into the middle of a wave. It would stop, and then you drive right into the next one. I just remember going down the highway, and all of a sudden it looked like somebody dumped over a Snap-on truck. And we saw, we saw all the tools everywhere, and you see Rick pull over the side of the road, and there was stuff, you know, the debris field was like the size of the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean.
I'm thinking also of Dave Henniger, who came out with that car that he raced in NMCA way back in the 90s. Second-gen Camaro, it was orange. He spun on the highway, smashed the thing, and I remember meeting up with him at the hotel, and they had like chained the front of the car to a tree, and they were backing up and jerking on it to try and pull the front frame back out. Very impressive car. He did well that year. We'd like to see him back at Drag Week.
Nature's porta power being put to use right there.
Another issue this week, Dan Smith, who's running the 79 Chrysler 300. You'll see him here in the pits. He's easy to recognize because he's got a custom treatment on the right front of that thing. Sort of a Ed Roth asymmetrical thing going on. The right front headlight is Frenched back about 2 feet. The result of an accident, beautiful car, turned into a wad of aluminum foil, but he was not delayed by it. He hung a headlight in the thing to meet the rules and got back on the road, and he's here at Drag Week flogging on that car trying to win the Street Machine Eliminator category.
Important point you just made. He put a headlight in it. Well, you ask, well, why did you just finish the thing with one headlight? Because the car would not have met the rules without 2 headlights in it. So they went to, I think they went to Home Depot or Bed Bath & Beyond or something and got a bunch of stuff and cobbled something together. It meets the standard of the rule. He was able to run yesterday, and I believe, is he still on the bump spot of Street Machine Eliminator?
Oh, let's have a look at that.
Smith was literally on the bump spot. He was number 32 of the potential 32-car field coming into yesterday. Now that we have the updated rule packet or the updated results here, we're going to take a look and see where Smith stands right now.
I don't see a clean break on that in today's reporting, so I'll have to do some counting and get back to you on that.
Reportage. So the Street Machine Eliminator deal is going to be very fun tomorrow as those quick 32. We'll be into it. David's counting, and he's going to run out of toes and fingers very quickly. So this all becomes a crapshoot after that.
Yes, that Chrysler that got into the accident remains on the bump spot in Street Machine Eliminator. The way that works is in that class, everybody is running for the best possible 5-day average they can get. We take their ET slip every day. As every day that we race, hopefully that's 5 days. We average it out, and then we put the top 32 on a ladder, and they run it out in a bracket race on the final day, which will happen tomorrow at St. Louis.
So I think we're going to be getting cars headed down here right quick as we're just going to run the tire drag over this track to touch it up a little bit. Thanks to everybody who's populating the stands here at Cordova International Raceway, and thanks to those of you that have stuck with us in the live feed this morning. These things are not as easy as they seem. We've got a great crew of people that are working on this thing, and I can promise you, when there's ever any sort of a blip, all of them spring into action to get it fixed. We want to deliver you the best show possible, and I know that they've been recording everything that's happened on the racetrack, so it has been a good thing. Maybe they haven't been recording. I'm just saying that. I was recording on my cell phone. Maybe I'll just upload it to my own YouTube page or something. I don't know.
We might have to go to Periscope pretty soon. We'll just tape my phone to the window, and it'll work out pretty well.
But hey, these guys and girls are thrashing really hard. They're putting on a great broadcast for everybody, and we appreciate their hard work. We hope you do too. And it is going to be, again, an active day here at Cordova as we're doing our best to get everybody down the racetrack at least once, as impending weather may visit the track.
While you're sitting around, visit bestofeastwood.com. Again, they're running a sweepstakes, giving away stuff every 2 weeks. Significant tools that you could win. Bestofeastwood.com. For the Eastwood Company. I'm not exactly sure why we...
But I know
Don't wake me up again, okay?
Saponaro,
I want to be asleep when we pass that car.
Saponaro gets his slip, 798.7, 179. And the one-man Mike Winslow fan club celebrates up here in the tower.
In the far lane, Tina Pierce with a brand new truck. At least brand new since the last time we saw her here at Drag Week.
Yes, that truck had the truck that we last saw at Drag Week had an untimely end down there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but Tina Pierce's husband, a very talented fabricator builder. I'm not sure if this is a reskinned or updated version of that truck or a fresh build, but Matt Banal is lined up next to her. Matt, from the great state of Vermont, competing here in Drag Week. That's a long haul from Vermont to St. Louis.
And in the right-hand lane, 908, 152. In the close lane, 1261, 109. Now the next pair up in the far lane, this is kind of an interesting story. We're looking at the results that are in the street race. Let me see. They might be in modified here. Super Street, big block, naturally aspirated. This has been a battle 2 years in a row with the same three guys in the class. Vince Rash in a Pontiac, Mark Covey in a Buick, and here in the far lane, Randy Heiselman in a Cuda, and even though it says AAR on it, it has a big block in it. And Heinzelman rolls 1075 at 126 miles an hour. And in the near lane, Andy Thornton, 1361 at 102. Close lane, John Dodson in the Corvette Terry Converse. Interesting little car here in the far lane that we saw, I think, the first time at Drag Week last year. LS Power in it, and he stepped it up this time. It's a fun car to watch. I like it when guys take Corvettes and actually flog on them instead of bringing them out to Bloomington Gold and sitting around. On class car, 13.0 at a 103.
Dan Hill, also a member of the Canuckistan Brigade of our Canadian racers that have come down to compete. Kevin Studaker going to be coming up next. Kevin works at Coke Seal Piston Rings. He is driving this awesome developed station wagon, which we named the Wagon of Doom a couple of seasons ago. He has stepped up the power big time and even called in the services of Eddie Miller to help him get it running.
And in the near lane, Tom Hogshead, another guy who has run every single Drag Week. Hasn't finished every single one of them, but he will this year with a 632 Blueprint motor in that car. Oh, we got issues. Not getting out of the track the way he wants to in that wagon.
Yeah, the wagon definitely not moving early like he wanted to, and Hogshead goes 10:43.7, 130. Studaker 11:53.1 at 131.09 miles per hour.
Studaker is going to be participating in our new Hot Rod Drag Weekend event at the end of October. We are doing 3 days, Tucson, Phoenix, Fontana, California. Just a new program, a lot more lightweight, just a lot more fun. We're going to have some guys come out and just get a taste of what Drag Week is all about. Find more info on that at hotrod.com as we watch Vince Rash in the near lane, another guy who's been at every single Drag Week, and he is pure Pontiac power.
And the 1958 Chevy Del Rey over on the Curry side of the drag strip. This trans had a little bit of a wobble out here within the first 60 feet. The car cleaned up though and went down through 10.023 to 139. And the Chevy Del Rey of Daniel Warren goes 15.30 with a 9 at 89 miles per hour.
Vince Rash is in the top of Super Street Big Block, naturally aspirated. That car has run into 970s. We'll see if he comes back and tries it again. He's got a pretty good gap on the guy who's chasing him, which is that Buick, Mark Covey. Covey's averaging 1023. Vince is in a 969, so that might be a pack it up and go home pass right there.
If you're out there cruising around the pits, make sure you stop by and grab yourself a Drag Week t-shirt. We've had big lines in the trailer all morning. They are rapidly running out of sizes that fit normal-sized people. So you got to get down there and grab yourself a shirt. Got event shirts. We got Precision Turbo set up down here. Gear Vendors is down there. Rick is talking about Gear Vendors units. If you want to learn more, you can do two things. You talk to Rick, who knows more about transmissions than any human on the face of the earth, or you go to gearvendors.com. That's their website. You can find out about different applications and the different offerings they have for that bomb-proof overdrive or underdrive auxiliary transmission unit.
Rick always asks us to sort of explain what that is, because if you've never seen this before, it's kind of a unique product, not normal in the marketplace. It is an extra planetary gear set in a case that bolts to the back of your car's existing transmission. So let's say you got a 727 Turbo 400, whatever, you pull the tail shaft housing off, usually 4-bolt deal, and you slide this thing on, and an electric switch turns it on and off. And the neat thing about it is that you can split gears with it. So you can engage overdrive in first gear to get first over. You can engage it again in second gear, so it just adds up extra gears in your transmission. And of course, gives you that cruising capacity that you want.
Absolutely. Also down there, the manufacturer's area is MSD. They've been here all week long providing tech support to the competitors, and MSD welcomes everyone to the 11th Hot Rod Magazine Drag Week. MSD has been involved with Drag Week since its first running, and we're excited to keep up with the tradition in 2015. Just like the racers, MSD continues searching for ways to improve performance. The advanced BC programming capability of the Power Grid Ignition can now be used to control boost pressure, timers, and delays, and of course timing with RPM. Hot Rod Magazine is proud to welcome back Rocket Brand Racing Fuel as the longest continuous sponsor of Drag Week. Rocket Brand will provide to the overall winner of Drag Week a 55-gallon drum of the Rocket Brand Racing Fuel of his or her choice. Also a 55-gallon drum of fuel to be awarded to our Spirit of Drag Week winner. And well, we got a second of quiet, David. Let's talk about the Spirit of Drag Week award. Oftentimes, getting a more emotional response than the overall award winners that are awarded on Friday night.
It is one of our biggest deals. We give Spirit of Drag Week to the person who really is the best sportsman, maintains a good attitude all week, flogs their car, lots of human suffering always adds to the program, and helping out other people. I believe we have Alex Taylor across the lanes here. Yes, we do. I think the last Taylor family member standing. It began, they had their Ranchero here. They also had their Retro Nova. Alex has run her quickest passes ever at Drag Week. Let's see if she can do it again.
It is on one now, 581 in the 8th mile, and Alex Taylor goes 894 with a 3 at 157 miles an hour in the twin-turbo LS first-gen Camaro. That car's been down in the 890s, and that 894 is her quickest pass of the week and her quickest pass ever.
Yeah, by 600ths. Basically, she's bracket racing that thing. It's exactly what it ran yesterday.
Here comes one of the really cool entries as we move into the Street Machine Eliminator category. That is Scott Brown from Texas, 1953. Chevy Bel Air. Turbo LS combination in this car. And what's great about this is the body is completely unaltered other than the holes cut for runs some exhaust up through the front fenders. But running with the fender skirts on, little narrow tire in the back. He's added some power to it this year. It's been down in the 1060s. What a neat piece.
In the close lane, Matt Clow's got that 85 Camaro. He's been trying to run in the 12s every time instead of running the 13L. Let's see if he can run a 1290 this time.
Ron motors through 1078, 134. Clow goes 13-18 with a 6 at 115 miles an hour. $12.99, one of those tough numbers to achieve in the third-gen Camaro, especially if you're going to try to run a bunch of stock parts over there. I'm not sure what his combination is. Brandon Arthurton and Andrew Netherland. Netherland in the Clerico lane. Netherton went through a couple of entries that he was planning on taking you to drag week, broke everything and got in a Honda Fit and said, I'm going anyway. And it's not the slowest thing here. Brandon Arthurton gave a head start as he comes out in his third-gen Camaro. We talk about it a lot, David, but it's not about always coming out here and running the biggest, quickest times. It's not about laying down huge mile an hour. A guy like Brandon Arthurton running mid-14s and 95 in his Camaro is loving life this week.
Is it about actually taking your stock Honda Fit? Clear me up on that.
Well, hey, listen, if you want to come bad enough and you've blown up the real race car and the backup car and your wife's car and you don't have a bicycle and there's no mobility scooter around, then you go to the Honda Fit.
Absolutely. I'm not really giving the guy flack. We're happy to see everybody here. However, this year we have seen far fewer of those bone stockers like that. Much bigger field of guys actually getting after it.
We actually almost busted Andrew Netherland, not for putting the car in a trailer. He had the car in somebody else's back seat.
Time to do some general maintenance here on the starting line.
It's going to be Clark Lamb and Brian Coleman coming next. So the story on Coleman's 66 Chevelle is pretty cool, isn't it, David? It's his first car, correct?
I believe that is correct, yeah, and it might be his only non-Mopar.
Yeah, Brian Coleman, again, he's had all kinds of stuff over the years. He's had some real hardcore drag race stuff. He has a really cool Chrysler Coupe with a Hemi in it. He's got a vast variety of things, but like other competitors, he went down the list of stuff to take, blew it up,
I think the key to actually attending drag week is to have a good inventory of cars to choose from. Yeah, you really want to just pick the car at the last second and hit the road after the others blow up. Kind of a standard program.
So Clark Lamb is pre-staged. Lamb from the Tulsa, Oklahoma area out here running drag week with his dad in a beautiful 1968 Barracuda. So Lamb has a better reaction time by about 0.7 of a second. He's going to use it to his advantage as Lamb goes 11:52.0, 1:16. And Brian Coleman in the 66 Chevelle goes 13:12 with a 1 at 104 miles per hour. Ross Dudley and Chris Greer coming up, and his Greer in that flat black kind of stealthy looking wagon with the very deeply tinted windows. And Ross Dudley on the complete opposite end of the conspicuous scale with this butternut yellow Roadrunner. Really get an appreciation of how big these B-body Chryslers were when you put one up next to a station wagon. The station wagon looks like it's a 3/4 size model. Ross Dudley, huge starting line advantage, and he's cranking more horsepower as well. Takes the Roadrunner and meets his way down the racetrack, 11:81.8 at 114 miles an hour, with Chris Greer going 13:18.9 at 102 on the Curry side. GT California Special Mustang and a lineup next to the front, one of 3 front-wheel drivers, or I guess 4 front-wheel drivers we have in the Street Machine Eliminator category. All 3 of them in this category are Chryslers. This one happens to be a Daytona, and all 3 of them are really stupid fast. So Jason Trotter comes up in the Daytona. Racer X over there in the car lane, do not have a name for the driver of the Mustang, and he's like, why did I buy a Mustang? Why did I not just buy an 80s four-cylinder Dodge Daytona? 99 in the 8 for the Dodge, and watch this. 11:49.3 at 133 miles an hour is the Mustang. 14:37.1 at 98.
Just a reminder in the pits that the impound lane number 3 is closed during this session of Street Machine Eliminator. During Street Machine Eliminator, which is right now, the impound lane is closed. In our open session, Lonnie will be fast-tracking the cars who have not yet made a pass. We're doing our best here to get everybody to get a run in. That's why we've shortened up some of the times. We will have a longer final session as far as the hours go. I will get a cutoff time later on in the day from Lonnie, but he will be fast-tracking the cars that have not yet made a pass.
Pat Culkin and Scott Abbott come up now. Scott Abbott has won this category, and he did it in that car right there, that well-worn air grabber equipped Roadrunner. And Pat Culkin sat on the starting line for 1.5 seconds after Abbott left to spool the little turbo, maybe the big turbo on that little four-cylinder engine. 11.99.6, 110 for the Dodge as Abbott goes 11.63, 115.
One of the biggest achievements in drag week is actually Scott Abbott managing to keep the whole body still attached to that Roadrunner as he runs year after year. He refuses to paint that car. It's pretty much legendary. I think he gets stopped at gas stations back home. It's like, you're the guy from drag week.
Yeah, if you paint it, it becomes completely nondescript.
It's invisible at that point.
Yeah, you leave it like that, it looks like, it's just a character. Troy Claro and Travis Martin coming up. Martin, the polar white Z28 Camaro of like the 99 variety. Picks the front end up off the starting line for Martin. That thing plowed through the air with the nose way up high. Late model Pontiac GTO Troy Claro trying to hold off the Camaro. Good drag race to the stripe. The Camaro gets there first. 11.53.6, 110 is Claro. 11.74.3 at 116 miles per hour.
Only a drag week do you see a car like that pulling a wheel stand and actually dragging the trailer hitch on the track.
This is 1979 Pontiac Le Mans on the car side of David Burke will line up next to the first-gen Camaro convertible of Warren Weimer. Weimer gets the center lines in the front of it. Good look at the steel wheels, little kind of wagon wheel style wheels in the back of the thing. Man, where's that guy behind all my life?
I can get his number for you.
That's cool. I'll move that. Weimer, 11.02.2, 122. David Borg, 11.45.3 at 117. I don't want Gallagher to think of cheating on him.
That's right. You know, I made the comment about the trailer hitch. I want everybody to realize that most of these cars, when they hit the road to drive from track to track, they actually drag trailers. Even our 6-second cars, they have got trailers behind them. And of all places, drag week is where trailers have become a drama. People whine about how big they are and how stupid they look. We've been measuring them up to make sure they are legit for our new rules.
Yeah, it was yesterday that one of our former flying Coastal was going through a pretty intense inspection on his trailer. Measurements were taken, volume was calculated, and he came in, and area was calculated. He came in within spec as Scott Cottle and Brad Armstrong go down the racetrack. Armstrong 12.75.6.102, Cottle 13.34.0106. That could have been a huge story if that trailer did not pass muster and one of the leading guys got bounced out of the race.
Keith Turk out there executing the body cavity search on the trailer.
Tell you what, I heard the glove snap and I ran. So Keith, how you doing that search with both hands on the guy's shoulders? But anyway, Gavin Lusk and James Reeves coming up now. Reeves in a legitimate 10-second Dodge Omni. Man, that is dead on. Maybe one of those Foley guys in the movies.
1072, 133 miles an hour in the far lane, 1260, 113.
The crazy thing isn't how quick that car is, it's how consistent it works. Because front-wheel drive cars, really, obviously, you're sending the power through the steering wheels, and he isn't even, I mean, he's driving the thing in there, but, you've seen some front-wheel drive cars with big horsepower. The guys are like swatting bees in there, trying to keep going in a straight line. Mark Dream and Tom Taylor coming up now. Taylor in the 1979 Nova, and Dream in the 4th-generation Camaro. There was a lot of these they used up by you as cop cars, right? We're in California, used a lot of those late 70s. They a pretty popular cop car for a while out there.
The Nova, not too popular. They did exist. There was 9C1 Nova, but we had quite a few 4th-gen Camaros.
As Tom Taylor goes 10.57.3, 129 miles an hour, 13.28.6 at 102.
Yeah, the Highway Patrol 4th Gen is pretty much a thing. They're kind of better than actually the Highway Patrol 5-liter Mustang.
Wow.
Ah, the Ford guys are going to be all on me again. What did I say?
Well, no, it doesn't have an FE in it, so you're going to be good. You're safe from those guys. It's the FE guys that currently want to have your skin as a lamb.
Yeah, I know. I've pretty much written off my my Christmas card list from the FE guys at this point.
Brian Jankowski and Chris Ghosh coming up. Ghosh in the 66 Buick. The graphic paint job and the ability to lift that left front wheel. And Brian Jankowski in the third generation Pontiac Firebird Formula. The Buick gets its ET out of that low-end charge. It goes 12.18.8, 108 miles an hour as Jankowski goes 12.18.5 at 113.
We need somebody to run some Skittles up to the tower for us, because I'm running low.
Yeah, man. Once the Skittle park per million in your blood count gets low, things go bad. I've been there.
If I don't have a steady main line of Skittles and Arby's, we can't survive drag week.
I'll tell you, if we eat Skittles and Arby's one more time, you will find my bloated corpse on the side of the road somewhere. I will not survive that again. Mike Reichen and Dean Teppen. I didn't realize this is Mike Reichen over here in the Camaro.
Neither did I. I saw him out here on day one. Reichen usually running, what is a Mitsubishi all-wheel drive car. Guy's a legend.
And Mike Reichen hammers on down through there. 996.6, 134 miles an hour as Dean Teppen goes 12.44.5, 111. Reichen, that little four-cylinder car, runs single-digit on the drag strip, and he is running over 240 miles an hour in the Girls Timing Association standing Ohio mile meets.
Also interesting, he just rolled 996. He will not be able to turn in that time slip because we're running in the Street Machine Eliminator category where we cap it at an index of 10.0. So you'll see him back. Otherwise, he's got a lost day.
Brad Hodson and Kelly Smith come off the starting line. Hodson in the second generation Pontiac Trans Am with a 4-speed in it. And Kelly Smith in that well-worn Chevy 2 Nova wagon heading down the Clerico side. Rust and all goes 11.10 with a 6 at 121 miles an hour. Do you find or do you feel yourself partially responsible for a car like that existing? Because you often should not more than just ran down. You champion the cause of having no shame in your game if the thing looks like it was just pulled out of a swamp.
Going fast is looking good. It's all that matters.
Fair enough.
In the far lane here, this is kind of interesting. This Corvair has an LS1 in the nose. It's rear-wheel drive, obviously. It is slapped onto a G-body chassis. Kind of a neat swap. They've got two of these cars, the other one a little white coupe.
And as new, those who are familiar with Corvairs understand that that engine was located under the cargo area floor as a flat 6, like all Corvairs were powered with. You see those vents on the side of the rear quarter panels, those are to feed air to the engine. Now it is powered with the proper front rear layout. Nick Taylor and Mike Myers head down the racetrack, and Mike Myers does not have any sort of a knife out. He's slowly chasing Nick Taylor, but in a fun way, not in the creepy horror movie way. 10.49.5, 132 as Myers goes 12.70 with a 7 at 105.
Interesting battle for the very top of the Street Machine Eliminator category. Mike Reichen, who just went down in that 2000 Chevy Camaro we were talking about, he's the guy who normally has the Mitsubishi. He has got himself in the number 2 spot with a 10.14 average over 3 days of racing. Adelie Ross in the 63 Ford Wagon's up at the top, but the car you see here in the close lane is number 3. He had a bad day yesterday running a 1020. He's normally capable of 10.0s. This thing is Roadkill Deluxe. Roadkill being the show that I do on YouTube that encourages stuff like what you see right here. Man, did you hear that tire hit?
That was awesome. Mike Peavy, 108 in the 8th mile and literally just bludgeoning the air out of the way at the top end, goes 10.047 at 132 miles an hour, and they are pumped up about it as Tim Stanbury goes 13.51.5 at 116.
So all these cars are going to have a 4-day average today. Tomorrow morning they have to run again for a 5th time. Then we put them on the ladder based on their 5-day average. And so these guys have got to run twice more, getting as close to 10.0 as they can so they can be at the top of that bracket race ladder where they can still get taken down by somebody with a better reaction time.
Right, and any of these drivers will get themselves down to that 10.0 and when it comes to launching or reacting during the bracket race, will absolutely fall on their face.
He just caught an O light right there, deep staging in that Nova. He's got an 0.14. He gets to the 8th mile with a 7.04. Top end, 10.94 at 118 miles an hour, while the far lane, 16.27 at 83 miles an hour.
The driver of the Nova has one of the great drag racer names of all time, Ken Passerby.
That's pretty good.
Kevin Webb. Kevin Webb is going to sit there and perform a rather low-wheel speed burnout that will last several minutes. He is on fire again right now. So Kevin Webb, the undisputed burnout champion of Maggie 2015. He hates the slicks on the back of that car. And Kevin Webb. You can't be good, be spectacular part of the program down there.
You want to take a lunch break, Brian?
Yeah, go on, Brian. T-shirt. Oh, yeah.
Always gets a good reaction. Look at the crowd.
The full Cheech and Chong situation happening there is the smoke rolling out of the doors, the windows, the body panel seams, as Webb sticks it in reverse and brings it back towards the starting line.
Attention in the pits. Session 2 lanes are closed. Street Machine Eliminator lanes are closed. So we're going to run these guys out, prep the track, and go to our all-run session. And once again, Lonnie will fast-track you to the front of the lane if you have not got a chance to make a pass yet.
Kevin Webb's going to go to the doctor's office. The guy's going to do a chest exam and ask if he was a coal miner. He's going to say, no, I just went to drag meet one year. So there goes Webb to the 8th mile at 80 miles an hour. And Webb goes 13.83.5 at 99 after he went 13 seconds down the drag strip and he spent 6.5 minutes in the burnout area before coming to the starting line. That's good math.
You're saying it's burnout?
That's news you can use.
But what was that? I missed it.
Well, it says burnout length to ET ratios askew.
That's a new thing. Divide them out and you get your burnout ratio.
Yes. Us hardcore fans pretty much in the burnout ratio. Jeremy Wilson, on the other hand, is in the getting and scooting. 0.54 reaction time in the very clean Chevy 2 Nova. He goes 10.78.3, 129 miles per hour. It is Don Palka coming next. Palka coming in the very clean first generation Camaro in black. And the Bullet Mustang, which you own one of these things, Freiberg. You were a Bullet Mustang owner.
I had an 01. This is the later 08 deal. I appreciate this guy. Something went wrong. He ran like 31 seconds the day, first day. Doesn't matter. He's continuing on drag week, having a good time.
So, of course, the Bullet Mustang, a tribute to the movie Bullet, the iconic car that Steve McQueen drove and probably outran a Charger that would have had 90 times more horsepower than it would have had the 390 that car would have made. Hollywood movie magic, right? Scotty South going down in the Ford with Don Palka heading down the Curry lane, 11.52.4 at 118 miles an hour. And Scotty South, a.k.a. Frank Bullet, couldn't catch him this time. 14.14.6 at a Honda.
Okay, this is going to be important to me personally to help get this guy rolling. Keith Harrison has been at Drag Week 9 times, and he's here for the first time with his 34 Ford Coupe in the hot rod category. He's got a big block Chevy in that thing. Last night, he needed some help with a local welding up a header. He noticed his water pump was leaking. They went to change it. They broke a bolt in the block. He is just living Drag Week roadkill style. He is looking for a big block Chevy short water pump. Once again, it's Keith Harrison, big block Chevy short water pump. You can find him in the pits in that 34 Ford, or you can bring that water pump up to the tower and we will get it to him.
Ed Mall running down the racetrack in a car they built for $2,015. No fooling. They have $2,015 in that Mustang, and it goes 12.85.9, 114. Luke Duncan in the Maverick. You saw the car push his way through the beams. He just hammered the gas. He has no information. He left before the tree was activated. Keith Vandenberg and Charles Davis. Davis comes up in the 427R Roush Mustang, and Keith Vandenberg in the green on green Pontiac GTO convertible.
Once again, Street Machine Eliminator lanes are closed. You'll get your shot in the session 3.
Wouldn't it be something? Let's watch this rear round as Vandenberg's heading down. Charles Davis in the Roush Mustang trying to make up room on the classic Pontiac, but it is another happening as they get to the top end. 12.68.5, 107 for the Pontiac. Davis goes 12.55.9, 113. You know, you mentioned the fact that Jeff Lutz is here with the Camaro. Jeff Lutz is here kind of at this point just kind of a man on a mission. Wants to come, just place the numbers down, entertain the crowd, maybe etch himself into the history books. Wouldn't it be something to have that done, that mark reset, and a track that has seen so much history like Cordova?
That would be really cool. World Series of Drag Racing happening right here since 1955, correct?
Yeah, it is the oldest independently produced or longest running drag race in the country. Mike Carl and Rodney Munchiando Luciano in the Nova, and Mike Carl in that Dart GTS that is a showpiece. And it's the Nova having no trouble here. 10:03, 434 miles an hour. Rodney Luciano going 11:60 with a 2 at 115. So Jeff Ferguson, the man behind the horsepower, George Gallagher's machine, just made a note here, and I think they're going to get ready to hit the road, which we kind of expected. They want to get back to St. Louis. They did not finish the week last year. I'm sure that was top of their mind this year.
Let that be a warning to you if you're watching on the live feed, planning on being in St. Louis tomorrow. You need to be there the whole day to make sure you see every one of these cars go down the track. Many of them do a one and done. Left-hand lane here, 12:30 at 108. In the right lane, 13:33, 101.
Here comes Jeremy Hoskins. Hoskins rolling up. This is the LS-powered rear-wheel drive converted Eagle, or rather Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Yes,
we
he
got
is.
A racer looking for a set of spark plugs. NGK R5671As needs 8 of them. We got a racer looking for a set of NGK plugs. We're going to get you a name on which racer specifically needs them. So Keith Creech in the LS-powered Camaro and Jeremy Hoskins the LS-powered Mitsubishi. And the Mitsubishi goes 11:05.9 at 125 miles an hour. Creech goes 12:16.6 at 116.
The Mitsubishi is 10-second capable. It did put down 1090 yesterday. Fun car.
I'm sorry, David, these plugs are Joe Grubin looking for these plugs. Joe needs the plugs. The NGK R5671As. Joe Grubin needs these spark plugs. We're going to run a fresh set in there, maybe follow some on the way over here in the evening. Because that never happens. We get behind some of these cars on the highway, we got to put a gas mask on sometimes, they're loaded up so heavy.
It's happening faster and faster.
Harry Watson and Tim Hoskins. Hoskins tries to stay in with a camper shell on the tower, like a bed topper on it. Pulls the bed topper up, unloads all his stuff, and then runs the S10 down the racetrack. Hoskins on the Clerico side, Watson in the Curry lane. Goes 12:52.6 at 109. Hoskins goes 13:67.4 at 99 miles per hour.
Do we have any word on John Ferrone?
I got a whole bunch of nothing going on in the John Ferrone scene right now. I got no word. Anybody out there that's in the earshot, if you know something about Ferrone, spill the beans. Use the Twitter machine. Use Facebook. You can send a skywriting plane, carrier pigeon. Let us know what's going on.
Right now we are in NFN mode. No Ferrone news.
So the No Ferrone News Network. That's
Yes.
where we're at right now. Bob Ruppel and Jason Moore coming up now. We saw Ruppel on the side of the road. They were working on this car last night. Randy Moore in that blacked out third-gen Camaro rolls up on the Curry side. Ruppel's car looks tough. Looks like a black ice. So they get that prior fender.
Apparently I had time to paint that fender on the way in, but couldn't finish up the rest of the car.
1060 with a 3 at 130 miles an hour for Moore, and Ruppel goes 11:84.3 at 182.
Fun fact to know and tell, he did paint that car based on Troy Trepanier's Pro Box, the 60 Impala that he built that was in on the cover of Hot Rod Magazine. It inspired him to do that, but he painted the car in the late 90s, right?
He did, yeah. He said he actually bought the paint years before it got laid on. There it is.
The John Deere truck in the far lane. This guy has been awake all night long. I think he slept about 2 hours in the truck here at the track this morning after we talked to him, helping people at the side of the road.
He thought he had a torque converter all the way. Jesse had a Fury in that John Deere tribute truck with a 496 bay block in it. And Dale Ponzius runs down to the Corvette. Fury goes, well, before the tree was activated, he left, so he gets no time. And Dale Ponzius goes 11:85.7 at 118 miles per hour.
I'm going to say the fatigue's got something to do with leaving before I think he was even staged. He was literally helping people all night long. Sanchez and Harrison. Good guy.
Jeff Dugopolsky and John Hindley coming up. John Hindley was the winner of the Street Machine Eliminator class last year, and he would love to do it again, as Hindley is in the Valiant and Dugopolsky is in his Chevelle. Dugopolsky is a very experienced bracket racer. That is an experience that will come in handy if he qualifies for the 32-car field, which I believe he will. This is a solid 10-second running Chevelle.
Neither one of them working very hard on the reaction time there, even though these are both past winners of the class. Dugopolsky, 11:39, 1:17, but Hindley gets there first, 11:02, 1:20.
Step-side pickup completes the burnout, and boy, this nice little Mustang that we drove behind last night through some of the more scenic parts of our route. This is Jeff Gallagher in the Mustang, and Tom Foglett, who was there for the original drag week back in 2005 racing at Monte Carlo, comes up in his pickup.
I actually flew here with Gallagher's girlfriend. I mean, inadvertently. She was on the same plane.
Jigs up, Freiberger.
And she told me the story about how they came to drag week last year and went out on day one. But this year, that thing's putting on a show. Small block car, and he's still rolling 1088, 124, where Foglett in the far lane goes 1205 with a 6, 115. Now that little white Mustang looks so stock. The roll cage on that is exactly how I like to see him. Tucked in, business card tight, and painted the same color as the rest of the interior. I asked him to put some hubcaps on that thing. It would round out the image perfectly.
Are you never satisfied?
That's right.
Never good enough for you?
Never.
So time slips need to be turned in at the Hot Rod Toter Home. It's the giant toter home with the awning hanging off the side, the same one you dropped them off yesterday. All time slips need to be handed into the Hot Rod Toter Home before you hit the road. Final announcement, all time slips need to be turned in before you hit the road at the Hot Rod Toter Home.
As Kevin Poe leaves the line with a little wagon that's actually on a late model GTO chassis, but he's getting run down by Hines. And the win goes to Hines in the far lane, 1175, 114. Poe rolls 1241, 107.
Talking about strategy like we always do at this time of the week in the event, I had mentioned that Jeff Ferguson had sent me a note that he really liked the racetrack and loved the place that they were at this morning. I responded to him, I said, "Are you leaving?" He writes back, "We're at the first checkpoint."
Yeah, they're jamming. I do have word here. Ferrone is in the house.
All right.
So, the two guys who are out, who everybody wanted to see roll down the track anyway, Lutz, Ferrone, they are here. Let's cross our fingers for some solid passes later on today. They are out of competition, but they will put on a show. I'm thinking when you're out of competition, you can take risks.
You can take risks. You're a man with nothing to lose other than a long ride. Well, actually not that long a ride. It would have been much longer to get back to St. Louis the other day. If you made it this far, we're pretty much around the corner in drag week speak.
Watch this car in the close lane. It has essentially a bone stock, iron-headed 400 Pontiac in it with a turbo blowing through a carburetor. Dirt cheap program this guy's got going on.
He had a little trouble building the boost here at the start line because he's building on the foot brake and pushed through. You can see him pushing himself back, or at least 1 foot on the brake pedal, but still it goes 12.10 with a 3.115, and Nick Perry goes 13.55.6 at 98. Trailer, get yourself. A spectator that is in the trans business, you can go down and lend a hand, or at least lend some brain power to those guys, do it.
And Kyle has now updated me that it is in fact a Spragless Turbo 400 in that Dart. So Spragless Turbo 400. Anybody got a spare rattling around in their trailer that's clearly not too large for drag week? You might want to walk over there and sling it over your shoulder, drop it off at the Canucks. They're going to have a good time.
I left mine at the hotel, which is crummy. Nice sleeper, Chris Jacobson. Chris Jacobson, that is a car that is boiling that right rear tire. A turbo V6 Buick-powered Mustang with Mike Sleeper in the more traditional Malibu going 11.001, 122. The Ford with the Buick V6 and turbo goes 11.48.3 at 128.
Now I'm getting the inside scoop directly from Rick Johnson, who's down there walking around in the pits. He says, Ferrone is here and he's really just doing maintenance, ready to run. He thinks about 45 minutes he's going to be able to go down track. So once we get towards the end of that open session that we've got, we will let the competitors who are out go ahead and run down track, and that'll be Ferrone and that'll be Lutz.
Gary Harris coming up with a modified Silverado. Pretty quick, but a great story. Bob Goupel. We were joking. It's certainly not going to win the ET record out here this week, but it has a great story behind it. Bob had a Corvette that he broke before drag week. His daughter said, "We gotta go." So we went on Craigslist, bought that car, welded in some floor pans, sprayed some paint on it, and here they are.
Father-daughter team out here. He was telling me we made a joke, oh yeah, they did sell those with 6 cylinders, and he says to me, you know, that was originally a V6 car. And I said, so did you pull a couple wires off for old time's sake, or what are we doing here? No, really good story with those guys.
1769.5, 74 miles an hour. Gary Harris of the truck goes 12.17.9, 112. That truck is pretty sleepy. Does not look like a 12-second runner until it hits down the racetrack. And here comes Paul Whalen. This is a guy who has been to a lot of drag weeks, and he's been to a lot of them in that Mustang. Grabs third gear before the 8th mile, and Paul Whalen, standing on the gas, goes past 1,000 feet to the top end, 12.55.2 at 127. And tell us the story of the car on the early side.
Yesterday we did confirm that Kevin Rolfe's Mustang here is a legit GT500, and I just had to pause for a moment while I choked up at the Motor Wheel Spider Mags. The Motor Wheel Spider Mag is to me as George Gallimore's Monte Carlo is to you.
I'm leaving the room right quick.
Exactly.
This is going to get nasty.
Oh, I love those things. But that is a real GT500, and check the vintage paint job on the hood. Near lane. Not Shane McClellan. It is Shane's son. It's his son.
Junior McClellan of the family on the Clerico side in the Malibu. And look at Kevin Rolfe, 11.76.7, 114 miles an hour. Shane McClellan goes 13.72.7 at 101. Kevin at 11.76.7, 114. That is a healthy 428 living under the hood of that Mustang.
And the Gear Vendors news feed just informed me that Bailey said that last pass was A-OK. He has hit the road, clicked that thing into his Gear Vendors overdrive on the highway, and motoring on to the next stop. We hope to see him at Gateway tomorrow. That's a car we have chased a lot on the highway. A lot of people question whether these Pro Mods can really make the drive. Well, I can tell you, Alana from Hot Rod has ridden in that car. We've seen the guy all over the place. He's got no support with him. He doesn't have his engine builder with him as he normally does. And he is on the road to St. Louis. Hope to see him there tomorrow.
Not only that, we drove the route that he does, and that thing's had to drive through dirt, rocks, and everything else.
There's a whoop-de-doo program going on. That's what we do when we pre-run the route. We find the most brutal, pothole, dug-out, cop-laden, overgrown roads we possibly can.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the track yesterday. It's Clark Strong coming up on the Kerry side. Very going to be rolling up on the Clerico side of the drag strip.
So much winning Brian Loans.
There it is.
No longer welcome at a certain drag strip in Wisconsin.
Banded.
This thing, and I do mean thing, powered by a Cummins diesel, as perhaps you surmised.
The 6BT, inline 6 Cummins diesel, the engine that really kind of revolutionized things when it started being installed into pickup trucks by Dodge in the late 1980s. It spurred everybody on. Of course, these days, there's a massive horsepower war going on in the Detroit manufacturers, and largely was stoked by the fires of the 6BT. This one happens to be installed in a 1930s Studebaker truck.
Incorrect.
International truck.
I'm going to take you to school right now, Brian. Check out those front fenders. They will reveal that as being a 45 Chevy.
There we go, the 45 Chevrolet. He's going to tell us the crowd in soot. Thanks for coming today, folks. Down the Clerico side, as Clark Strong goes 11.63.6 at 117, and Robert Perry goes 11.86.8 at 113.
We got Skittles.
Oh,
Someone brought us Skittles.
Life is good.
Wow, I wasn't even serious. What's your name?
Chris Hayward.
Chris Hayward. Oh, that's right. Thank you very much for bringing these up to us. We're going to survive the rest of the week. Yeah.
Finally. I was getting worried that I was not going to have the sugar diabetes by the end of the week, but now we can keep that program intact.
Chris Hayward, thank you. Now if somebody can just get up here with the IV bag with the Red Bull in it, we can be somebody for the rest of the
Stop
day.
asking for things. They're going to show up with that stuff, and I don't like needles. Steven Shishak and Rachel Gebhardt coming up. Gebhardt in the purple-ish Plymouth.
We need a hookup for some of our help here in the tower, too. People at Cordova doing an awesome job. You can borrow my Skittles if you want. I'll just need them back later.
Rachel Gebhardt in the Plymouth goes down 11:44.1, 101. Shishak goes 11:65.7 at 120 miles per hour.
Good day, man.
Really good day.
Looking dry, looking fast.
Yeah, we got a little prep going on. I believe that means we're probably at the end of our street machine category. That means we're going to be opening it up to the ladies' choice or the all skate or the whatever we're going to call it, the free skate program, where it's jamming in the lanes and jam yourself down the racetrack. And thanks for jamming with us in front of your computer screen. Realize we've been up and down a little bit on the feed, but I can tell you that we have a great crew of dedicated, hardworking people behind the scenes. And I do mean a crew. There's what, 8, 10? It's like a cast. It's like the Cecil B. DeMille cast of thousands.
Each one of them is doing the job of 6.
Except for Dustin.
We do, in fact, have 6 people here working. 8 including us. Oh, yeah, because you can see the labor that goes on here.
So that means 6.75.
6.75. Yeah. We're not quite grown up yet. We're at the kids' table of broadcasting here. But yeah, Eastwood has brought us this live feed, which we really appreciate. Once again, Eastwood makes tools for the home restorer. Help them do it right. They make chemicals, paints, all sorts of stuff. The home powder coating machine. Have you ever checked that out?
It's crazy.
I know. All kinds of stuff. You can just like rip your oven straight out of the kitchen. You know, your wife's not going to mind whatsoever. Drag that thing out to the garage, or hey, just throw the parts right into the kitchen stove and you can powder coat them.
Yeah, listen, you wash the valve covers off in the dishwasher, then you powder coat them in the kitchen, in the stove, and then if your wife is still not home yet, then you can really get crazy.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, Eastwood makes all of this stuff, and they're going to help give some of it to you. To support Drag Week, they've started a sweepstakes that you can find at bestofeastwood.com. Sign up for it there. They're giving stuff away every 2 weeks. Significant stuff. Plasma cutters, welders.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Go to it. Yep, bestofeastwood.com.
Speaking of giving stuff, Gear Vendors Units gives you more options and more availability and more drivability for your hot rod, your truck, your RV, whatever you want to bolt one in. Rick Johnson at Gear Vendors has been here all week. And Gear Vendors, once again, is the presenting sponsor of Drag Week in 2015. We have many racers like Mike Wensler out there in that brutal nitrous third-gen Camaro. He is a Gear Vendors user. He has driven nearly 1,000 miles so far this week in a car that has to make 1,900 horsepower, and he may even be punching the button down to the racetrack. You've done it yourself on the drag strip, engaged at Gear Vendors. Eddie Miller used to do it in his Duster going down the racetrack, engaging the Gear Vendors at full throttle. If that is not a testament to how much brutality those things can stand up to, I don't know what is.
You know, when I first saw it, I wasn't exactly on the same ballot as you on Wensler's car, but it's definitely grown on me, and the key was seeing it cruise down the highway with no hood on. That thing just took me back. That is brutal, big-time nitrous power.
You of the non-shockable variety of human being that you are, we're passing Wenzel's car. I'm obviously, my tongue's hanging out. There's a drool situation happening. And he's driving by the hood. You go, hey, did you see the motor in that thing?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, wait a second. That was a genuine reaction from you right there.
It is really good. It's all stanced out, too.
It is.
I'm really bummed, however, that yellow 69 Camaro that used to belong to Rick Dyer, that thing dropped out a couple days ago. I found out a fun fact to no one tell. He actually put fuel injection on that car, the new owner who's up in Nebraska, and he was concerned that he wasn't going to be able to handle the tuning on it when his other buddies dropped out. So unfortunately, he headed for home with that thing. But the yellow Cars 69 Camaro that used to belong to Rick Dyer, that was raced in the very earliest days of fastest street car racing, was here for the first 2 days of Drag Week. And that was the thing I actually got emotional about. I couldn't believe seeing that car after I'd spent so much time with it at those fastest street car races of 92, 93, that kind of era. We're back hot, and look who we've got in the left-hand lane.
Oh, it is the man with half a face, or Dan Smith, as we now have to call him, as that is the 1979 Chrysler 300 that had a chance encounter with an immovable object on the front right side. So you can see the front right side of the car all scarred up, but Dan Smith really living the spirit, the embodiment of drag week. He fixed it, put a headlight in it. It is zip tied, it is glued, it is duct taped, it is spit shined together. And he's going to finish the week and hopefully compete in that top 32 bracket race tomorrow.
Speaking of which, Addy Ross in the far lane in that 63 Ford Falcon wagon has been going 10 O's and is at the very, very top of the ladder currently in Street Machine Eliminator with an average of 10.08. Let's see if he can put down an O again right now. Not on the light, that's a 471. That could hurt you if you're going to use that in a bracket race here tomorrow. Nevertheless, the car does go 10.24 to the quarter. That's a car I think we're going to see back here because it needs to work some numbers. However, the big Chrysler running 1150 over and over and over and over. Interestingly, he's also running a reaction time of pretty much, you know, this one's a 105. We've seen him in the 110s. Word is that that guy can cut an 001 every single time. We think he's soft pedaling that a little bit just to not tip his hand.
E-body greatness on display here in the starting line. We have Charlie Ogle and Jason Ogle. What about that? Father and son, brothers, who knows, but they share the same last name, and they share a love for the E-body out there. Charlie's got a 4-speed. So does Jason.
That's so cool.
And in the blood feud, it is Charlie Ogle going 11.72, 4, 119. Jason goes 12.19, 8 at 111 miles per hour.
Now check this freak show. You do not come to Drag Week and expect to see yourself a vintage Honda Civic with wrong-wheel drive side by side with a late model SUV. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to go buy my t-shirt right now. You really don't want to because both of these cars are going to shock you right now.
The Grand Cherokee, normally a mom buggy, but not this one. It has been hot rodded as Ryan Anderson's, and it likes to get up and roll. And Anderson doing everything in his power to keep Sean Devine and that little buzzsaw of a Honda away from him. Anderson running for his life goes 10.67, 3.131. And Sean Devine with the VTEC Yo powered 1979 Honda goes 12.41, 9 at 116.
I hope we see another Honda out here on track as well. Jeff Jr. has got his Honda on site. 434 small block twin turbo thing, weighs 2,200 pounds, has run in the 7s. He's out of competition, but he is here. Maybe we'll make some fun runs later in the day.
Remember that time you just said you hope you saw another Honda on track? Because that just happened a second ago.
I don't remember that at all.
You just said it.
No.
It just happened.
Video or it didn't happen?
No, we got it.
Oh.
Once again, Jesse Manafiri jumping the Christmas tree. Once again, leaving so early that he saw the future out there, and his future is blank because there will be no information on his side of the time slip. Mike Sleeper's like, hey, where you going, Jesse? He waits. He goes 11.11.3, 123 miles per hour. Chevrolet's pair, Steve Eden and Sandra Sr. are coming up.
That's actually an Oldsmobile.
The Oldsmobile.
Yes, the close side car is Oldsmobile.
So Sandra coming up with that clean C10 pickup truck with the Oldsmobile logo with the Chevrolet bow tie would be planted right in the center of the grill. Nice touch. The Oldsmobile.
The Oldsmobile.
That Ricardo Montalban, that should have been happening in his era. Could you imagine Ricardo Montalban delivering that line?
Steve Eden, no, that was cool.
Steve Eden, 97 in the 8th mile, and Eden goes down through 10.93.7 at 120 miles an hour. Boost your way straight to the winner's circle with a turbocharger from Precision Turbo Engine, the leader in turbo technology for street race applications. Since 2008, Precision boosted vehicles have set over 256 world records and helped win more than 119 world championships, including Drag Week champions Larry Larson, Jeff Lutz, and Tom Bailey. Precision Turbo offers a complete line of upgraded and custom turbos, as well as intercoolers, boost controllers, wastegates, blow-off valves, fuel injectors, engine management systems, and much more. Visit precisionturbo.net for more information, or check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/precisionturbo. Greenwood in June goes 11.26.3 in the Mustang. Andre Miller goes 12.05 at 109 on the Curry side. 142.4 at 110 miles per hour. All the stuff I think Drag Week has been responsible for, what's your opinion anyway on the development of engine component side? What is the thing you think that has advanced the most in the era of Drag Week?
Probably professional engine builders who are normally used to building like Pro Mod engines and things like that. Having customers who are coming to them saying, I need that, but instead of the 15-to-1 version, I need like the 11.5-to-1 version. Or instead of the one with, you know, an inch 100 lift, let's just go ahead and go with the 880 because, you know, that's far more reasonable. I think that's what we've seen. Reliability in valve train is really huge. There has been a lot of solid roller lifter development as far as solid bushing rollers and things like that, because we found a lot of guys here just, they're gonna kill a solid roller. You don't want to scatter needle bearings all over the engine when you do it.
No, that is bad, and like you said, that the needle bearing depth is taking more guys down probably than anything over the course of the years. And you know, the companies that are building these products, when they do have pieces that reach the end of their lifespan before the race, they want them back. They want to figure out what happened. And as much as you want to put something on a dyno and beat it up on a dyno, make it full throttle pulls, the amount of abuse this stuff takes as it's cruising down the highway or idling in traffic, or maybe not getting as much oil as it probably should be getting at low RPM. That is where they're learning a ton of stuff. And you can ask engineers, they'll tell you flat out, we love getting this stuff back in there to look at it.
Well, and Doc McIntyre made a good move, which is to go to basically a boat engine. Those things are designed to just run wide open throttle at a fixed RPM for hours on end. He's got that Goodwin 673 in that car. The reliability should be pretty solid on that just from the R&D that's been seen in the boats.
Absolutely, and knock on wood for him, he has been having a good solid week. He has made the quickest naturally aspirated pass in the Pro Street naturally aspirated category, and in reality, the quickest one that's ever happened at the event for a car designed to be naturally aspirated. Yeah, we've had guys with nitrous motors run without the gas and run pretty quick, but when you consider what the application is and what the goal is, Doc McIntyre currently owns that mark as the quickest and the fastest naturally aspirated car as Joe Barry pulls into the pits right now.
Joe Barry just arriving at the track for the very first time today, under the wire to try and get the pass in during our final session, and hopefully before it drizzles.
What is it with you and the drizzle, man? What is this D word? Let's not, you know.
Let's not talk about it. It'll go away.
If you ignore it, it will not happen.
Another example of a pro engine builder getting involved in a program here at Drag Week. They've got a David Rayer engine in Schroeder's what do you call it, unlimited Corvette. I was just stumbling there because I realized that they're out and gone, unfortunately.
They are out and gone, but that car made some very solid passes early in the week, and they were starting to get ready to start leaning on the thing a little bit, but it was not to be. Dave Schroeder and John, his co-driver, John Enns, the two great guys. They love this event, and undoubtedly we'll see him again next year in that blue Corvette.
You know what they need next year? I think the problem is they probably need a bigger motor.
You know what? I think they do too. I'll be honest with you. They didn't really have much impression on me with the 872.
Yeah.
So if they go 900 or they go to that sunny 1,000-inch motor, now we're talking about something.
That would impress me.
Yeah, that would impress me a little bit.
Can you imagine the cooling that it takes to run Drag Week in something with that much stroke, all that piston speed, all that friction? Overheating is something that nailed a lot of guys.
Well, that might have been one of the problems on Schroeder's car because they have a small block Chevy that runs a pump in the back of the car.
Right.
It's cooling through it.
Exactly. Once again, I'm going to say that we've got Blasco down there in impound tearing a Spragless Turbo 400 out of his car. And I hope we can get somebody down there to have a look at that and help him with it, because we would like to see him, who is leading Pro Street Power Adder with the 770s with that Predator-headed Mopar. We want to see that thing back on track. And he's, again, down to the wire. We got to get a message up here from Lonnie. Lonnie Grimm, if you can text us up, let us know precisely what we've got going on with lanes right now and track. We will share that with the pits and the audience.
Rocket brand racing fuel is formulated to provide the most power on every run. Each batch is scientifically blended to be consistent each and every time. Rocket brand is the performance gasoline that more race teams and engine builders are turning to elevate their competitive advantage. Rocket brand racing fuel, the undisputed leader in the science of going fast, and the undisputed dork in the consumption of Skittles. Keep those away from me.
Maintain your girlish figure, dude.
All right, fine. Round is a shape. Oh, a note being passed from race control. We have a need for a 1050 Dominator carburetor for that The white Tirana from Australia. Find the guys. If you can't find the Tirana in the pits, it's the car that doesn't look like any flipping thing you've ever seen before. The 1977 Tirana from Australia. They need a 1050 Dominator carburetor, and we know there's a couple of those floating around out there.
I'm guessing if they only need that to get their pass in here today, you could probably tear the carburetor off your car, loan it to them for a little while, and then take it back. And they probably can't screw it up too badly in a quarter of a mile, but, you know, we have seen those guys. We can't be sure.
Exactly. We have the old what could possibly go wrong in 8 seconds theory. It's never really held up very well in the sport of drag racing. Let's talk about Carnage this week a little bit in terms of how many racers we started with and how many we got left.
Oh, I did the manual count this morning. What were we at? 50 out. We started with 303. I've been reporting 301. I got slapped in the head by Jenny on that. She had Kurt Johnson standing behind her to take his next licks.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, pretty much it was like that scene in an airplane where they're slapping the chick.
Yes.
The line of people to kick me. Anyway, lost the plot right there.
We've lost over 50 cars since
over
we started.
50 cars. 303 started, over 50 are out. And that doesn't include the people who have not told us that they're out or the people who have fragged their garbage here today.
Right. And some of the going out is more spectacular than others. We had a Mustang have really crazy fire on the first date out there in St. Louis late in the session. We were going to sprinkle holy water on the track at one point or sacrifice a chicken or something because it was like we disturbed a burial ground out there in St. Louis on Monday.
There was a lot of guys who had not been to Drag Week before and they just did not understand that it's not the place for R&D.
There was windows flying out of cars, stuff bursting into flames, oil left, right, and center. It was like every third guy that lifted off the gas pedal to strike just threw the rods out of it. Jack Miller had a loose valve cover, end up with the motor sucking a whole bunch of oil in through the supercharger. All that oil got down into where it shouldn't have been. The detonation started, vaporized the piston. I mean, when you start to tally the amount of money that broken parts that gets killed in this event, it's like we're supporting the gross national product of like Ghana or something like that by the time we're done here.
We're keeping industry alive, man. Making jobs.
The aluminum mines around the world going to overdrive here to. You know, we need more bauxite to make pistons.
72618. We need some Ford pistons. Exactly.
So anyway, the Aussies are looking for a 1050 Dominator carburetor down there. They do not mount it backwards. The toilets flush backwards there. Everything else happens backwards, but the carburetors mount the same way.
If you're a guy who's just wandering around in the pits, keep an eye peeled for somebody who you can help. While we do not allow the people at Drag Week to pre-plan, to have people coming with them to help them, carry parts for them, you know, blatantly cheat, we are allowing people to have impromptu repairs with virtually anybody. We've had so many situations at the side of the road where a local comes up and asks what's going on and ends up just saving a racer's Drag Week from them. And the same thing can happen out here in the pits. I've seen spectators get underneath cars, pull transmissions out, share their drive shafts, go home, pick up parts, come back. That could be you. You could be a hero to save Drag Week for a lucky racer.
Well, look, Jesse Martin, his car like barfed the trailer out the back of it on the way here last night. He had a local farmer guy come over with a tractor to hook with a ball hitch on it, so he hooked the trailer up and pulled it over to his house. Jesse went over to the guy's place. They slid a old BuzzBox stick welder out from under the desk that probably hadn't been used since the Reagan administration. And next thing you know, he's back in business because of the kindness of strangers. That is what's happened, and that can certainly happen here in the grandstands. If somebody's having trans problems, you have a transmission shop or a good knowledge of the transmission world, lend them a hand, please. These guys and girls have worked so hard to get to this point, not to mention so hard to have their stuff running to get to the event. And this is make or break stuff for them right now. If you can survive your way back to St. Louis, it is a huge, huge deal.
You just laid the curse on Dominic, who is running here in Street Race Big Block NA, because he is out.
No.
Yep.
Zavacek, my man with the 4-speed?
You got it.
Come on, man.
It says so right here. Not on the internet. So
It says all kinds of stuff that's
yeah.
not true, though.
It's not completely factual because I haven't seen it on the internet yet. But
I got the same message. So now that I got it, now it's legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of the internet, don't forget to go home and check out hotrod.com. We got tons of videos there, information, perhaps most importantly, race results. You can find out exactly what everybody did here every single day. And if you look through it, spend some time with the results sheets that put together by Tanya Turk. We love her for that because this Excel spreadsheet would boggle minds if anybody else had to deal with it. She gets some help back home with that, I have to say, from a computer programmer guy, and maybe Turk will come tell me who I can thank for that. But
carry on, man.
I completely forgot what I was talking about. I got distracted
That was a full vapor lock,
That was
man.
a full vapor lock.
That was a full mid-sentence vapor lock.
That was
That's
like,
all time. He's had a couple that have been pretty good, or like I'll be talking to him and all of a sudden he looks at me like he's been looking at me.
I know.
And then all of a sudden your facial expression changed and I realized he was here but he wasn't.
no, actually what you often do to me is I'll be in the middle of texting or doing social media, and I'll come back to it and be, what? I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
But the fact that I wasn't actually listening to you when you were talking then means that I cannot pick up the end of your sentence either.
Right, see how it works?
I do.
This
Now,
is
I am
pro on
I
day
am on the
4.
receiving end of this.
Right, this is the sleep deprivation tour, and I think we're both suffering for that. But we are hyped up on Skittles, that's the problem. This is what just threw me off.
Yeah, we've theorized and come up with a lot of really good ideas on the drive from track to track that if we implemented any of them, our careers would vaporize in front of our eyes.
It's true.
It is true.
What I actually was talking about was spending some time with the results, going
That's
through
right.
them, and look at the top 3 guys in each class. There are many of them that are just like Ripley's Believe It or Not close.
Yeah.
I can't believe you go over 5 days of racing, and we have had numbers, as a matter of fact, Lutz and Larson the other day that came down to, or the other year, that came down to hundredths of a second, running that tight over 5 days.
Yeah, that was the closest unlimited battle ever a couple years ago, and that was when both of those cars were running at the very bottom 7-second mark. Let's bring up another point. If Larry were here this year with GS and he decided not to participate, it's probably his right, he can come or he doesn't come. If he was here with the 66 Nova, guess who'd be winning this event?
Would he?
Yeah.
Really? What was his number?
If the car ran what it would normally ran with the thing running in the mid 6-second zone, he would be right in the hunt for this thing.
That is a lot of if. The bench racing is strong with you, my son, because you have no idea if he would actually make it. You're saying, theoretically, if he ran what we know it's capable of and survived every day and did it every day, he would be on top of the field.
Well, this is what we do here. We speculate and make and stir pots.
Yeah, go on the internet and criticize us because that's what we really need to fuel our anger and keep on announcing.
There was one comment, a guy that sent a comment in that said we were bad actors.
Bad actors?
Remember that?
Wow.
Yeah, you read it to me.
If this was acting, it would be genius.
Yeah, be Sir
because
Lawrence
there's
Olivier.
no way that you could actually pull off this reality right now while faking it.
You can't make this junk up.
Yeah.
Well, they're finishing up track prep out on the racetrack. They just dragged the thing from end to end. We're going to have cars coming around the corner, and I do believe we're going into our open session, so to speak, as the staging lanes are just jam-packed full.
And if you're watching at home or in the stands, this should be the bloodbath session because you're going to see a lot of cars who have not even made a pass yet. And I can think of a bunch of those. Joe Barry, obviously. I don't think we've seen Doc yet.
Nope.
Bunch of cars have not made the pass. They're thrashing in the pits. They're going to get out here and just roll the dice on whether they've figured out their problems or not. So you'll probably see some real leaker-looking passes. Followed by...
Way to sell it.
Followed by... Well,
way to sell it.
It's the drama, man. They go out there, they spit parts all over the track, they get back here in the pits, they fix it in 15 minutes, they come back, and they run their best ET at all time. It happens every time at Drag Week.
All day, every day, baby. As Rick Prospero is coming up, and Rick is not a guy who typically makes leaker-looking passes, although what he has been doing is really running a whole lot of fuel through this engine. It is a twin-turbo big block, and it will blow black smoke like it's a diesel from halfway down to a 3/4 tracker out the back door. Now, some of that is a function of it having driven a couple hundred miles on the highway and or at low RPM, and the thing kind of loading up the exhaust pipes with soot. But this thing really does move a lot of fuel through it. And Rick Prospero, I'm not sure if he's leading his category, which is modified power adder, but he's darn tooting close to the top in this RX-7 that he built. Those of you that are familiar with the event remember Rick Prospero's name for his Chevy wagon, which is really kind of where he made his bones here at Drag Week, but the far more svelte and aerodynamic package in the RX-7.
He was telling me a problem he had with the wagon is that they would go to drop the chute and it would pretty much plop along the road, take its time, and eventually go, meh, okay, and it would blossom. This thing, because of the aerodynamic advantage, poof, comes right out.
Here it comes. The boost comes up about 150 feet down course. Prospero 141 at the 8th mile, and Rick drives it through 819 with a 4 at 174 miles per hour.
The problem I'm talking about, of course, on the station wagon, there's such a big space of dead air behind it that you launch the parachute, there's nothing to blossom it. Look at the pair that we've got coming up now. We've been looking hard for the C-Red Camaro. This is Doc McIntyre with that 673 cubic inch Goodwin Chevy Hemi, sort of a Chevy Hemi. And in the far lane, Alex Taylor, who has run her quickest time ever this week and hunting to do it again. Very top 8-second daily driver here.
Yeah, Taylor's been down in the 890s today. She's going to try to get back there right now, but man, I'll tell you what James McIntyre is looking for. He is looking for something down in that 870 zone, or I'm sorry, 830s is where he went before, correct? 837 his best. McIntyre's car, very strange leave there, as McIntyre goes down 961.5 at 161. Taylor goes 913.8 at 156. And I'm not sure if it was actually spinning the tires. It's almost like it was out of gear. I think that was where he did his burnout to.
Was it? No, I think a black tractor right there. It was very unusual looking, like it was straining.
Yeah, it was
this
strange.
Javelin, however, is not straining. This thing has run 698 and 678. He's putting the rubber down. This is another car looking for a top 6 second. He is in the hunt right now, depending on what happens at the top of our field for the quickest cars of Drag Week.
So Bryant Goldstone, the transmission guy, will be lined up next to Gebhardt in the Gremlin. Gebhardt's Gremlin is an Indy-style Chrysler wedge engine under there, and it makes a lot of power. It is a car that is very well known in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. They have kind of a streetcar shootout of their own at the drag strip, and I've seen the sticker on the back of his car that he has taken home the bacon at least once or twice in that program. But Bryant Goldstone, the wild look. It's funny how cars... just the attitude of a car changes when you set it low. The lower that thing is, it looks so long and wide. It's a mean piece.
And completely steel, I might add, running in our new Ultimate Iron category for OE cars on a tube chassis. And of course this thing, turbo big block Chevy, it goes without saying.
Goldstone, 119 to 60, here he goes. 166 in the 8th mile, and Bryant Goldstone, 691 with a 0. 207 miles an hour for that twin-turbo big block Chevy AMC.
With the front wheels up at the 8th mile. He's been having a problem shaking the tire loose on the shift up there. He's got that sorted out, and it was picking up the front end.
John Deere truck has a turbo 400.
Needs one?
Has one. Didn't somebody need one?
If somebody, we had a racer looking for a turbo 400, the John Deere truck, Jesse Mataferri, has a long shaft turbo 400 for you. He's parked down by the fuel tanks. Find the green and yellow John Deere truck, and there's a turbo 400 waiting at the end of the rainbow. And Steve Forrester takes the turbo LSX Mustang down 796 with a 0. 175, as like you said, David, the mojo starting to come around here in this session.
Mataferri's got that Turbo 400. I will mention it is a long shaft version, so if you need a short extension housing on that thing, that's not what he's got. He's got a long shaft Turbo 400.
With the rain coming, they got the basic truck.
So Jimmy Waugh and Dwayne Phelps head down. It's Phelps in the Corvette outrunning the 4th generation Pontiac Firebird. And Phelps goes 988.8, 134 with Waugh going 12.24.2 and 110. Jeremy Heiser coming up. Heiser purging the nitrous in that really spectacularly clean Pontiac Firebird, the 3rd gen, the GTA model. Just a gorgeous car.
And Walt Herr, having been struggling in that 69 Camaro in the far lane ever since yesterday, for some reason his mojo just left the room, but let's see what he's got right now.
See if Herr can go down without making any cannon shot noises out of the back end of the 1st gen Camaro. Yeah, Walt Herr's going to hold on it now. 117 at half track, and Herr going to labor it down, goes 929 with a 5.147. Heiser goes 10.16, 1.134.
929, actually an improvement for him, so finally he has got his poop in a group.
He has exercised the demons. These pipes are clean. James Ratz and D.W. Dishman coming up. It is Dishman in the Pontiac Ventura. And Ratz, the Fox Body Mustang. Yeah, yesterday the Gremlin of Gebhardt, we were making a call for a valve. Obviously, he found a valve to fix his cylinder head.
And we have to thank Gebhardt also for providing us with the data, much of which we are using here at the mic, of past year's events. He probably is the Brent Kepner of Drag Week.
I would say so.
As far as figuring out what everybody run and who did what to who. tearing the tires loose on the Fox body.
Power shifting that baby though.
Bang shifting it.
Down past the 1,000-foot mark, Dishman trying to stave off the charge of the Mustang, 13:28.6 100, as Rats goes 12:55.9 115. The whole shot got Dishman to the finish line first.
How could there possibly be a car here I feel like I have never seen before?
Which one, McNeely's?
Yeah.
Well, see, this is the vantage point we've never gotten on this car. We've always seen it from behind. You see it from the side. Look at the wheel and tire combo in the back. Very interesting. Very large diameter, short sidewall tire in that car.
That's what was telling me I hadn't eyeballed that before. Oh, and it still pulls the tires on that big diameter wheel.
Ryan Howard, the turbocharged purple Mustang, 120 at half track. And down the Clerico lane is 9:17.5 150 for Howard. McNeely, 11:45.9 at 124.
Now in the close lane, our buddy Jesse Martin, who is doing a full-on roadkill kind of trip here. He's got zip ties all over this thing in tribute to how we build our cars on that show. He's been at the side of the road a couple times. Last night his trailer broke off and he completely fragged a rocker arm, or two.
Martin, no helmet on here. He's just going to try to get this car down the racetrack. Record in elapsed time. That thing is it's a hurting unit. He is just trying to keep it together to get it back to St. Louis. Josh Norris, 1040 with a 1:128, and Jesse Martin going to work his way down as best he can. The Clerico lane goes 18:10 at 66, which is better than taking the 20-second slip.
Yeah, the rules allow if you just break the beams, we'll give you a 20-second ET so that you can remain in competition. He actually improved that number with an 18.1, and you never know where that's going to end up getting him. Could be beneficial.
None cleaner than Doug Garrison's 1964 Pontiac GTO. Pontiac fans will be super excited to learn it has a big block Chevy engine in it. As Shane McClellan comes up in the Crusty Nova.
The stick, however, takes his cred up a couple of notches.
So Doug Garrison, the gear jammer. Mike in the front end when he grabs second gear is Garrison in the red GTO, but look at Shane McClellan go 843 with a 0-171 as Doug Garrison goes 1098.9 127.
We never got our answer to the Cleveland question south of the equator.
We didn't. Those guys have been too busy racing and fixing their stuff than to placate our stupid questions. How dare they?
Question being, why was the Cleveland a thing down under? We're not sure. I don't know if they sent tooling down or if it was just the popular platform. I need reasons.
Steve Rainman is driving that Capri on the right-hand side, the Australian racer. That car lives in Kansas when it's not on drag week. And Kevin Manasse Jr. from Massachusetts heads down the Clerico lane in the red Chevelle with the black rally stripes. Manasse goes 10:39.0 134, and Raymond goes 11:42.1 at 1:02. Rev limiter fully functional and tested on the Fox Mustang.
Yeah, he's leaving nothing on the table on the rev limiter.
And Paul Kwiatkowski coming up now on the Curry lane. Or in the Curry lane, as I always botch that up. Thank you so much to the Eastwood Company for sponsoring the live feed of Drag Week 2015.
Oh, look at go! Wheels in the air, very pretty wheels down, a 137.60 foot. He rolls to the 8th mile with a 6:14 at 111. And through the big end, 9:68 with a 9:137. Good run on the left-hand lane too, 9:94 with an 8 at 135.
Great run down there. And again, visit eastwood.com for all your shop tools, supplies, paints, all that kind of stuff that they're manufacturing at the Eastwood Company. And you can go to their website, eastwood.com, or go to bestofeastwood.com and enter the sweepstakes to win some of those great products. Bestofeastwood.com doesn't cost you anything. It's free to enter. Mark Payne and Rick Callahan.
Mark Payne in the close lane, modified, naturally aspirated. This car's been running in the mid-10s. Love the look of that Mustang. Got a big Hemi in that Roadrunner. He runs in the factory appearing stock tire class. We've got him on slicks here, which brings him to a 1322. Something's off there. But in the left-hand lane, 1047 at 127 miles an hour as Doug Flynn, a Holley fuel injection engineer, pulls to the line with his 582 cubic inch nitrous-stuffed big block Chevy. And I'm surprised to see him running those air filters on that. I would think those might be a little undersized, but he's the engineer. I'm the guy who's not even an announcer, but is holding a mic.
We didn't even have the foam things on these bikes. Doug Flint comes off the starting line and really starts rolling about 60 feet down the track. 9:13 with an 8 and 158 miles an hour. And Flint's car is one of the sleepiest we have here. You look at Flint's car, you go, that's not an 8-second car or a low 9-second car. You're like, oh yeah, it is. And here comes our dudes. They got a carburetor.
That was fast turnaround.
There was.
This thing is kinda Vega, kinda not. It's like kinda driven on the wrong side of the car, and yeah, it is driven on the wrong side of the car.
It would be really awesome for delivering mail here in the United States. You would
be
own
flawless.
a newspaper or mail route. This is your jam. Brian Jensen says, I'll show you what my jam is. I'll take my big block Dominator equipped motor and slam it down your throat in this 1977 Tirana. And Chris Fisher, the Lingenfelter employee in the S10 truck. Got to run down to the 8s, he hopes.
Very shallow stage. Oh, look at that. Nice. 1/360 foot. 8th mile, 550 at 126. Over at the big end, 859 with a 2 at 158.
And Brian Jensen goes 976.6, 137, likely using somebody else's fuel mixer on top of that motor. As Greg Pecorano, who has inspired us to come up with some sort of a measurable index of suffering on Drag Week, is doing none of that as he rolls up in his 10-second CTSV Cadillac station wagon. Meanwhile, Terry Converse comes up to punish brutally his transmission and independent rear suspension yet again. Terry Converse, 1092.9 at 127. I'm not sure what's cooler than that thing. 12:03.8 at 85 miles an hour for Pecorano.
Brian, what is wrong with me that we don't have a prize for the fastest stick car in Drag Week?
That is an epic, I mean, major league, all-time Hindenburgian level failure. Yeah, how did
Keith
you
Harrison
forget
in the
that?
far lane with his 34 Ford. This is the car that was broken at the side of the road last night when his header fell off. Somebody helped him weld it. Then they were going to change the water pump and they broke a bolt in the motor. That is just the worst kind of roadside nightmare. I'd rather pull an engine out than fix a bolt broken off in the block.
Henry Gianni and Keith Harrison off and rolling.
Keith Harrison, a 9-time drag weeker, usually in a 55 Chevy Gasser.
1086.3, 124 on the hot rod as Henry Gianni goes 1137, 4, 123. You get a 10-second street rod, you're actually a guy at a car show that can say, this thing runs 10s.
And that's his best run ever in the car.
Way cool. Guy Young coming up in the Lightning and Tim Hill coming up in the Lightning. Well, and what a version of the Lightning would have looked like 50 years ago. The supercharged 5.4 no match for Hill in the pickup truck. 10:35.3 at 125 as Guy Young goes 14:03.9 at 97 on the Clerico side of the drag strip.
Oh, here's one of my favorite rides of Drag Week. This is a 37 Ford truck with a 36 grill that he does everything with it. I was talking earlier, it's been at Bonneville, 180 miles an hour. It's done open road racing, autocrossing. It's been on the big oval. It's had a Chevy V6 in it. Fortunately, now it's a big block Chevy running 10s here at Drag Week. And bank shifting too, I believe.
It is, and he has the windshield wipers mounted in the factory location as well. How cool is that?
I'm guessing they're not vacuum powered.
That truck fully capable of getting some out there is the pickup. Not going to get passed by the Chevelle. 10.090 at 140 for Tom Ciancito in the truck, and 960 with a 2 at 141 for Jake Bauer in the 66 Chevelle.
10-0. You know what that means for tomorrow.
He's going to put on his O face again. Maybe multiple times. That's a day that anybody can enjoy.
Treading dangerous territory there.
No way, man. Randall Burns and Tim Bradshaw come up. Burns, the 5-speed equipped 455 Buick fuel-injected power 1977 Buick Skylark. And Tim Bradshaw, the 2000 Mustang. Bradshaw was on the hunt for some parts yesterday. He obviously got them because he's here. Randall getting after it out there. That was actually a good launch for him.
For him. Good qualifier there.
Well, for irrespective of the car, it goes 12.78.9 at 110. There's nothing wrong with that. 13.99.4 at 97 on the Clerico side.
That's like, hey, Brian, that was pretty funny, you know, for you.
Well, listen, if you're going to compare me to, say, Eddie Murphy, that is a valuable thing. We can't compare the Buick to say Bailey's car.
I'm comparing you to Eddie Miller.
Okay, now if I will run out the window if I'm not on if I'm on the losing end of that comparison. It's Romano dumps the clutch and pulls the front end up. 093 light for Frank Romano. The battle of the 55s. The stick shifted big block car goes 10.62.5 at 128. And Paul Nichols, a car he literally lives in through the week, goes 14.24.3 at 98.
The Gebhardts again showing up with the Barnyard Viper. This thing's been here a bunch of times. The Gasser class. Not a swept line. What would that be called, Brian? Let me test your truck brain.
But this is not a swept line truck. It's not a fleet line truck?
No, it's not.
What is it then?
A Utaline.
Utaline, there you go.
That's correct. Utility.
So Gebhard heading down the racetrack, goes back to the wagon, tries to outrun him. Believe it or not, a truck of that style with the fleet side or the swept line style bed actually won class at the 1963 Winter Nationals. 10.94.2 at 122, 11.39.6, 116, driven by a San Francisco area DJ.
Yes, Max Wedge powered truck,
Yes.
413 in a truck. There was also a Ford version of an AFX truck.
The XL100 with a 427 motor in it is Rob Ritchie and Scott Scribner come up. Ritchie was looking for transmission pieces yesterday in the Hugger Orange Camaro. He got them. Scott Scribner's not looking for anybody, anything from anybody. He's just out here to run down the Clerico lane. He's doing so in fine fashion. He will get to the finish line first. 10.62.3, 126, and Bob Ritchie, 12.09.8 at 111. So Danny Roberts and Lisa Fisher coming now. Fisher will be coming up in the Turbo V6 Buick. It is a T-type. Not officially a Grand National, missing a couple of the fender vents and other things that the Grand National is the telltale for. Oh, there we go. The sound effect master is back in the tower. Danny Roberts. Todd Mashmeyer power under the hood. Roberts in the Curry lane rolls up. Second to stage is the G-body of Roberts, as we have a pair of G-bodies out there. Wheels up for both cars. They leave about a half a second apart from each other. 60 foot time quicker on the V8 car, but the V6 car starts to make the big pull at the top end. 965, 8 at 139, as Fisher goes a much more representative 980 with a 1 at 137. Paul Korman and Mark Wishka coming again. Wishka in the Fox body and Korman coming up the 1971 Demon. How nice is that?
Train me on that car. What's your knowledge?
On that 71 Demon?
Correct.
Very little. Other than he's running in the street race small block gas category. I'll take a big block in there where he's shifting it. And Corman goes 981.7, 136 with Wishka going 1028.5, 132. Matt Ketting coming up. Ketting going to line up next to the SN95 style Cobra. The Cobra fascia on it with the big fog lamps down low on the outsides. And 11:44.2, 126. People are texting me asking if I'm emotionally damaged by your Andy Miller comment. I'm saying I'm above it all, man. I'm above the fray. I'm not getting into this. I'm not going to fall for your petty tricks. 14:47.8 at 95 for the Mustang on the Curry side as Chris McNeely and Ross Dudley coming up now. McNeely, again, that very large diameter wheel, the short sidewall tire on the back. It hiked the front end up last time, but it did end up ripping the tires off the back. We'll see what he can do against Ross Dudley in that really cool Roadrunner. Chris McNeely over 100 in the 8th, and that combination, well, interesting, it was working good for him. 10.63.6, 126. Dudley, 11.71.0 at 118 miles an hour. Saw a guy in Bradenton, Florida this year at an NMRA race. Had a late model like a 2015 Mustang with a 20-inch wheel on the back of it.
Very odd choice for drag racing.
860s.
On a 20 in the back.
On a 20-inch wheel.
Wow.
Twin turbo setup. The car is absolutely ungodly.
Does he just boost control the thing and not get into it till it's already rolling 100 miles an hour?
Whatever it is, if you bring the car to the shop that built it and give them another $35,000, you can have the same thing that he's got. That's what they told me. Doug Garrison and Ed Maul come down, and Maul is driving that 2015 Challenge car, Grassroots Motorsport style 2015 Challenge build. They spent $2,000. They go 11.96.9, 118. Garrison 10.63.3, 127, shifting his own gears. A lot of cars, a lot of drivers loaded in the staging lanes, and a lot of variation in the iron down there as they're going to start pulling off cars from different lanes, it looks like. The staging lanes, I believe, are wide open to everybody at this point.
Here's an interesting turn of events in our hot rod category, which is for pre-48 cars. The guy in that fenderless International truck, the little tan one, has been ahead most of the time, if not all of the time on this drag week. Tom Ciancito, however, comes up, lays down that 10-0, completely rearranges the class. He now leads the class by 7 thousandths of a second. So we're going to see a cutthroat battle there later on today.
Mike Riken and Scotty South head down the racetrack. Riken, the reaction time of 2 seconds as he spooled the turbo. He goes around Scotty South. Remember, Riken went too quick last time. He fans the brakes and goes 10.14.7 at 123 down the Curry side, as Scotty South goes 14.06 at 101 on the Clerico side of the strip. Keith Vanderberg and Tom Foglid come up. Foglid, this low 12-second step side extended cab GMC or Chevrolet pickup. Keith Vandenberg in the Pontiac GTO convertible. Rolling up the window out there for Vandenberg as he inches the car ahead. And some smoke pouring out from underneath Keith Vandenberg's Pontiac GTO. Past 1,000 feet, good drag race. It's going to be 12.10.1, 114 for the pickup, 12.44.6, 107 for Keith Vandenberg. Step side Chevy pickup in the half-ton variety here at the Curry side. It's Dan Teppen. And Nate Hines comes up. I'm sorry, Nate Hines in the pickup. Dean Teppen is in the primer Chevy too. Pretty sure Hines truck's got a turbo on, at least it sounded like it coming out the starting line. And Dean Teppen, 12.37.9, 111, and Nate Hines, 11.72.9, 114. Understand the context of asking this question. I'm not being insulting or disrespectful. The amount of time you've been in the industry, been involved in the performance hot rodding world, did you ever see the turbo domination day coming?
Oh, I'm absolutely the worst as far as that go. When I was the editor of CarCraft, I wrote a column basically, I can tell you the quote. I think I said turbos are for diesels.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing about that was at the time, EFI was nowhere near where it is today. And I was looking and I had never seen a turbo car that was repeatable or an aftermarket installation that was super drivable. It was just very few and far between. But now, they're on it. And I think that's the result of modern EFI. In the left lane, 11.31 with a 2 at 117. Right lane, 11.68 at 103.
I think what's also very impressive is as popular as the turbos are, superchargers have also stepped, they've seen what's coming with the turbos, so you've seen increases in efficiency and power making of centrifugal blowers and a lot more concentration on other forms, especially on the OEMs and belt-driven superchargers on a lot of this stuff as well.
Meanwhile, there's your good old trusty nitrous oxide, which never goes out of style.
Never goes away. It is the cheapest power per dollar power adder possible. Very nice C3 Corvette going down.
Oh yeah, he's been with us a few years, a little nitrous 383 in that thing. They've been getting faster and faster each time, except for that time, 11.50 with a 5. And on the close lane, 1272 at 117.
Norm Tannehill coming up, the Chevy, or the second generation Camaro. Window rolled up, lined up next to that gorgeous black and gold Chevelle on the Curry side.
Glenn Hunter, we need you to your car, please. Mosey on over to your 56 Chevy. Glenn, we need you to show me your car. Ron Grimm is looking for you.
Chad Addison in the Chevelle goes 11.16.2, 119. Norm Tannehill in the Camaro goes 11.27.0 at 122. I'm wondering, in my heart of hearts, I'm wondering what's going on with our boys with that dart, man. I hope they get the transmission squared away.
You're wondering that in your hardened heart?
My heart of hearts.
Oh, I
the
see.
subcockle area of my heart.
Oh, I know.
Deepest part.
That is one of those stories I'd really like to see it. I will be honest here, it really benefits me for them to blow up their transmission, destroy themselves getting a new one in there, and then come out here and win the event.
Right.
That only takes care of my media needs.
Maybe that's what they're doing. They're looking out for you, man. They're looking out for you.
He's a giver.
He's a giver. Chris Jacobson is a giver of headaches to the Ford clan with his Buick V6 powered Fox body. 1260 with a 3109 as Chris Jacobson goes 10.31.4 at 131.
A couple of good stories rolling up here right now. That Maverick has a little, I think it's a 331, maybe perhaps a 347 small block, low deck small block Ford in it. It used to be a 4-speed, now he's got an automatic in it, it's faster. The tunnel ram is off the shelf. Off the shelf in his garage where he had it in the 70s.
Tom Hogshead, the better reaction time by 2/10 of a second. So a motor twice the size in the Nova than it is in the Maverick. Goes down 10.50 with a 3.129 as the Maverick with a little small block goes 11.38.0, 118.
That is a fluke on that one. It's been into the 1080s. Here comes our real GT500 again. I'm going to step away for a moment and just dream of motor wheel spider mags.
Yep, please, please, please seek medical help, David.
Really? Those just aren't working for you?
I like them, but
Okay.
I like them. Is what I like. I enjoy them. You enjoy them.
I do. You just don't see them that often. I can't even find them on eBay. They're really hard to find in 15s. The good news about them is you can knock the center out of them and put them in a 15-inch barrel. Like you can take a 14 and turn it into a 15. Motor wheel fly is also the standard of Pro Stock in the 70s, magnesium.
Kevin Rolfe takes off, and Nick Pluniak in the stretching truck, which looks even more bizarre when you see it from the side, gets off of there and goes through the first 60 feet. One thing to look at it lengthwise, another thing to see it rolling by you like a submarine over there on the Curry side. 11.72.8.113 as Pluniak Trouble goes 11.71.4 at just 100 in the truck.
That thing is like 180 degrees out from those early steel-bodied funny cars, where it was a stock body with a big, long, stretchy nose. He's working the other direction.
He's gone another way. Staging lanes are open, folks. Staging lanes are open. I believe it's for all competitors, but staging lanes are open for all competitors. So here comes the fourth generation Camaro of Travis Martin and the Nova of Kurt Byers. Byers first running today. He's a runner. Byers really cooking along down there in the Nova. Goes 10.012 at 134. As Travis Martin goes 11.52.4 at 110.
Once again, these second-gen Camaros just breeding in the pits, just multiplying. So many of them here this week.
Staging lanes are wide open. Seriously, get it in the lanes if you want to run it. Staging lanes are wide open. Bring them into the lanes. I'm wondering when we're going to see the Lutz Mobile or the Ferrone Mobile making an appearance. Adam Hodgson sits on the tree, spools the turbos in that gorgeous early second-gen Camaro, lands on the gas pedal, and Hodgson goes 9.81 with a 6 at 139.
Folks, what you're seeing now is towards the end of the day, the program gets a few gaps in it because guys are working on their cars so hard and other people have left the track. And so everyone here is doing a last-minute thrash either for a better number or for their initial run of the day. But there can be a pause in the action while we're waiting for the next guy to get his transmission reinstalled and get back out here on the line.
And two factors maybe aiding that to happen a little bit earlier than we see it normally, and that is the fact, one is we obviously moved the program up a little bit as far as the order of things because there's potential for liquid to show up. And the second reason is there's potential for liquid to show up. What else that's affecting is, you know what, this is good enough. Let's not get caught in a rainstorm. Let's get out of here.
There is that.
fear.
And on that note, Lonnie Grimm down there is asking me that if you have not made a run yet, please do everything you can to get to lanes. We're going to run into an issue where if it does start to rain, we're going to have to make a cutoff. Lonnie will probably have to give me a time by which you must be in lanes in order to continue running in drag week. So you don't want to get caught in that trap. Get your junk on the track.
Yeah, but you said that in a very creepy way.
That was unusual.
That was a moaning, weird noise. So
I
please.
can't disagree with you. I will not be watching the instant replay on that particular moment.
Yes, it was almost like you wanted to sing and then you thought better of it, and what happened was actually worse. Gary Watson and Adam Haase just ran down the track. Now we have Jeff Oppenheim and Nick Taylor. First Try Engineering, the brilliant name on the rear quarter panel of Jeff Oppenheim's El Camino. I love that.
The deep stages and cuts an 0.72 light, warming up for the bracket race.
Jeff Oppenheim did the deep stage and cut a 2.16 second light.
Warming up to get there last, which he did. 10.65 in the left lane, but he runs a faster time in the right line, a 10.49 at 128.
Scott Cottle and Rachel Gebhardt coming up now. Gebhardt in the Plymouth, Cottle in the Fox Mustang. Rachel took out some good competition during the heads-up portion of the program last year in Tulsa in this very car. She has run this car a bunch of times here at Drag Week. She's comfortable in it. Scott Cottle and Rachel head down the racetrack now. And away we go, 11.85.0 at 91. Scott Cottle, 13.36 to the 1 at 106.
Meanwhile, Brian's up here on his phone. Last guy who still trusts the Ashley Madison site.
Well, hey, not the last guy. And I will send you the expense report from my wife when she tries to divorce me after you said that.
Kill me.
Yeah, you kill yourself, you kill marriages, you kill families. Thanks, David. Sean Polka and Clark Strong. Now, I'll be honest with you, my Ashley Madison is not nearly as bad as your farmersonly.com as Clark Strong goes down the big end on the Clerico lane. 11.30 with a 9 at 120, and Don Palka goes 11.91.3 at 116 miles an hour. Interests include making strange, oddly sounding proclamations on microphones.
As in,
Hey.
Here comes Ferrone. And this is that Australian Charger competition, but here to put on a show for you and try and set another personal best in this car, as he did earlier in the week. Odd look. Somehow accelerating. No idea what's going on there. That's new to me.
ZL1 Camaro, built by Larson Race Cars, is going to be making a run out of the next pair. But first, we have our Falcon Wagon of
Camaro on the ground and having the same problem. This thing has all the luxuries inside it, apparently, including also lay into it.
Alex Taylor down a little in the speed department as Steve Raymond goes 10:53.5, 130. Taylor goes 9:11.9 at 156.
Can't be sure. I thought I heard a little breakup mid-track on that. Maybe it just like hit the rev limiter once or twice and just took that 10th out of it. Once again, tower quarterbacking here.
Staging lanes are open. Staging lanes are open. All classes, all customers, staging lanes are open.
If you have not run, I recommend you hustle up and do that. Oh, look at the Valiant lifted tire.
And Billy Gebhardt, 10:57.7, 125, and it's Billy who's the specific member of the Gebhardt family that is the stat dude that gathered all this information that we are using to do some analysis this week. Shane McClellan goes 13:75 forward, 101. Little story on Shane. You remember last year, very first day, that thing wiped out 8 pistons. Remember that? And they pulled the whole motor apart in the parking lot of Tulsa.
Oh, right.
They made it.
I remember that
Before
now.
blowing it up again later in the week.
That 62 Valiant just shows you that Virgil Eckner, he dropped acid.
He did.
Yeah,
He was
Exner was on it.
He was on mind-altering substances. But the acid he dropped made him design ugly things. That's the weird thing. He didn't see the butterflies and happiness. He saw lots of weird shapes. Josh Norris and Jesse Vanaferi. Jesse unfortunately lost a couple of good runs because he left before the tree was activated. That truck not running the way it was earlier. 10:52.1, 128. Jesse goes 13:13.2 at 102. Keith Harrison and Kevin Payne coming up now. And again, Keith Harrison, he is the one guy that can go to a cruise night and lean on his car and tell everybody it runs 10s. Because everybody at the cruise night has a car that runs 10s and it's never even seen a drag strip.
He told me he always wanted a hot rod. He's got one. 33, 34 Ford. It is a fiberglass car. It's no lightweight though. Full-on street rod sort of thickness fiberglass on that thing.
I am a fenders guy. You a fenders guy or no fenders guy?
Oh, it really depends. Yeah, it's very critical on what look that you're going for. This thing's fine fenderless. 34 always good fenderless.
Kevin Payne, big starting line advantage, goes 9.96.6, 135 as Harrison takes the 34 Ford down through the traps, 10.87.8, 124 miles per hour.
Is that a better number than his last pass?
It's real close either way.
It was a 1080 both ways. I just can't get down to the hundredths on that, but still solid for him. Best runs ever in that car.
Scott Scribner and Ross Dudley. So Glenn Hunter still leading Pro Street Power Adder by just 0.03 of a second after Tom McGilton's run.
But we got to see what Glasgow does. We got to get a transmission in that thing.
So I figured you'd probably be on board with the sleeping in your stuff program.
Yeah, really, if you want to experience, you could just go home, wear the same clothes for 7 days, and drop an anvil on your head. Repeat. My vote. Once again, it's all about me and my photographic and video needs.
I'm with you on that. I think that's the. I think that is definitely so far. So.
Remember when he
wanting the crew members away from the back of the car, he said, "No more soup for you." And they for it as soon as Lonnie came up.
Have you seen Lonnie?
Someone might have told him there was a steak hidden down there. Here it comes for Joe Barry. 117 short time. 160 in the 8th mile. And Joe Barry goes 703 with a 7.
Oh, the agony.
200.17 miles an hour for Joe Barry. His best run of the week so far, but still outside of the 6-second zone.
I can't believe how all of our lives hang on hundredths of a second. The difference between 699 and 703 is like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I think personally,
Emotionally.
I think the difference, yeah, and physically, I think the difference is about 1.5 hun on the 60. It was 117, nothing to shake a stick at, but like a 116 or a 515 may have actually got him there. Ah. Hodson and Chekik coming up now. Chekik over there on the Curry side and Hodson on the Clerico side. Stephen Chekik's last name is one that I pronounce differently every single time it has come up on the screen. So
Variety's
keep
the
that
spice of life, you know.
one of
Your own.
has to be right. Adam Hodson barely skittering those front tires along the racetrack on the Clerico side of the strip. And Hodson goes 9.69.8 at 139. Chekik goes 11.50 with a 4 at 121. So Pagano goes down the racetrack. Jeff Pagano goes 12.09.2, 114. Like Sleeper goes 11.02.7 at 123. Matt Boonell and Jason Tabscott coming up now. Tabscott, the naturally aspirated small block, second gen Camaro. This thing absolutely screams. This thing's got to be turning 8,500 RPM as it goes down the racetrack. And Matt Boonell, that third gen Camaro, rolls up on the Clerico side. Oh, so good. Can you hear him pull third gear just past the 8th mile? And that thing is just awesome. 968.8, 138. And Matt goes 12.75.8 at 108 in his third gen.
Here comes that low buck Poncho stock 400 with the
Doing them. We'll see what Shane McClellan can do. And McClellan is going to lift early as that car again got off good, but then all of a sudden there was no boost as Eli Gould goes 12.010, 116. McClellan 12.096 at just 75 miles per hour.
And I have just gotten the word that we're actually not going to see Jeff Lutz today. He's been busy down there in the pits jamming, doing some things, but he doesn't think he's going to make the cutoff. He will be at St. Louis tomorrow, and we will be at St. Louis 2 days.
So the pickup trying to reestablish his lead in the hot rod category. This is a 10-second truck, 102 in the 8th mile, and Tim takes that 47 and 10-40 with a 7 at 124 miles.
That 10-0 from that 36.4 blue truck. Hey, look who we're seeing here. Dennis Taylor is back once again in competition, but we're letting him make fun runs here, and it's good to see that car back.
The Retro Nova. Dennis built it, gets the turbo spooled up, and the retro car. An hour side with the 4-banger. Why'd you touch my Skittles?
Of the dart. Feeding frenzy.
It's an odor that can't really be described. Not going to add to the flavor with those pickles. Man, you got that whole thing in your mouth all at once. You're good at that. Okay, here we go. Clark Strong and Kurt Byer coming up now. Man, like a sword swallower back there. Just handle that whole thing. And Strong and Byer now coming up to the starting line. Oh! What happened to Byer? Got loose up there?
Picked up the front end, unloaded the tire, got it loose.
So the staging lanes are very, very empty right now. If we understand those of you who are trying to make a great effort to get up here, if you want to make runs, now is the time to do it. If you're on a thrash, remember, after 12:15, this is a real event. Those of you that may be down there trying to do some sort of a rain dance, stop it. Get your stuff fixed. You got till 2 to get up here, but after 12:15 passes, we're certifying this is a day of competition, and all the times will count. If you need to turn in your time slip, you can go down by the Hot Rod Drag Week Toter Home, which is located kind of between the grandstands and the main pit area. You're going to walk right past it if you're going back and forth. The Hot Rod Magazine Toter Home is where the time slips are being turned in, and that is for those of you that are just following the race for the first time. That is how we kind of certify people's times. They hand us their best slip, we certify it, put it in the paperwork, and that is how the times are recorded officially. So Gary Watson comes up in the Oldsmobile. And trouble for Watson as the car came cleanly off the starting line, but didn't make it to 330 feet before running out of suds. Meanwhile, the four-cylinder turbo Mustang heads down the Curry lane, goes 11.62.5 at 116. Bryant Goldstone cranking that thing into the sixes again. And there is little doubt in my mind that if he can make it, that is the big if, of course, if he can make it back to St. Louis, he can finish up with a near perfect record of 6-second runs.
Happy birthday. It's good to see you.
David Freiberger assaulting that sandwich. I don't even know. That's not eating. That is some sort of a crime you're committing against food over there with that thing. I've seen people that have been raised by wolves in the woods eat with more civility than that. Know what's happening over there. There's a weird gurgling noise. We're going to be coming with more cars here in a second. And around the corner it comes the tire drag. So we're going to touch up the starting line. You can see the Cordova International Raceway official fogging down the traction compound. We're going to fog that down and kind of activate it with the tire drag. One of the things we got to give huge credit for to all of our racetracks, every single track we've been to this week showed up with the staff loaded for bear to give these racers the best surface possible to get down. We'll go back to St. Louis tomorrow. Tyler Krosno is prepping that racetrack. I'm sure he's there right now putting the touches on it. We talked a little bit about Tyler on Monday, and he's looking forward to lending his touch to the drag week mystique. He was nervous coming in. He wanted to make sure that he was going to, so to speak, and Tyler did a great job at St. Louis. We look forward to seeing his work, as our competitors do as well, for the next 2 days after we go St. Louis on Friday and have our heads-up day on Saturday. Thank you very much to Gear Vendors, the presenting sponsor of Drag Week 2015. Gear Vendors Overdrives epitomize, or Drag Week epitomizes the use of Gear Vendors Overdrives, the most reliable trans you can buy, coupled to the highest horsepower handling overdrive on the market today. Visit them at gearvendors.com, or even better, visit them right around the corner behind the timing tower. You can talk to Rick Johnson himself, the family business that Rick continues to run day in and day out today. Be sure to check out eastwood.com for all your paint, tools, and auto supply needs. Eastwood is offering 10% off to Hot Rod Drag Week viewers by using source code DRAGWEEK. That microphone's not a sandwich. Be careful with that, David.
I just wanted to jump in and thank Rick Johnson again for supporting this thing for so long and for hosting the big party that we've got at our awards ceremony that we do at the end of every drag week. He always puts a lot into that, including making the 2 trophies that we'll give away. Well, actually, 1 trophy Friday night, another one on Saturday at the end of the Heads Up Showdown. He's made these sort of perennial trophies. We use them every year, and that's what everybody is racing for, as well as the Hot Rod Drag Week jacket, which we'll manage to embroider for you just about the time it gets to next August.
Jacket with it.
And you'll be wearing the jacket all day long. No, actually, we've gotten really good at that now that Michelle has taken over. Those things actually.
Longest standing sponsor of Drag Week. He has been on since day one, week one, race one, and he will provide a drum of fuel to the overall winner. He will provide a drum of fuel to the Spirit of Drag Week winner, and he will provide a drum of fuel for free, again, to the winner of the Heads Up Shootout. That is 3 55-gallon drums of racing gasoline that he picks up the shipping on. He picks up all the labor. You tell him the octane you want, and you have a ton of race gas at your house to sniff and smell and run your lawnmower on, and more importantly, run your car on as well.
In the United States, he'll ship it.
In the United States, yes. If you're in Canada, you got to find a friend close to the border and drive down with a truck and pick it up yourself.
Mick Wilkes.
Mick Wilkes actually flew over to the U.S. with a paddle and he paddled his barrel all the way back to England. True story, it happened. Greg Maton. Maton heads down the Clarico lane. Maton passed the 8th mile at 118 miles an hour, and Greg Maton goes 9:19.51.47 with the Roadrunner coming up next. So I got a question, David, just real quick. I know you're in the middle of lunch here. Because you're eating lunch today, does that mean we're only going to consume one dinner tonight? Because we've been on a 2-dinner type of program.
Is beer dinner?
Well, that's an important thing we need to figure out.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Okay, well then no.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We might have 2 or 3 not dinners.
Yeah, we might have 2 or 3, yeah. A couple of not dinners, I got you. Ross Dudley leaves the curry lane. Oh, man. Motor laid way over, you heard it, and then popped out the exhaust. So Ross Dudley goes down the top end. A fun anecdote about things, exhaust poppage, if you will. I've had a bunch of big trucks over the years. I had a 65 Chevy C50 I called Goliath. It was kind of a cool looking old pickup truck. Well, it had a pickup bed on it. It was an old 2-ton truck. Anyway, I was trying to get the thing to run when I bought it. I had a 292 straight 6 in it. Couldn't get it to fire up. Put a new distributor in it. And I'm cranking. The thing won't light off. Then I look in, it's an HEI setup, and the power wire wasn't to the HEI. So I plugged the power wire in. I got my 5-year-old on my lap, hit the key, and it sounds like hand grenades exploding underneath us. I had to put the distributor 180 degrees out, loaded the muffler completely up with fuel, and then ignited it all in one fell swoop when I actually put power to the distributor.
And then showed up at Drag Week and gave people tech advice from
Yes.
the tower. That's awesome. Oh, the monarch of the deep has arrived.
Yes, the sovereign of the seas, ladies and gentlemen.
The AMC Rambler Marlin. Now the smoked Marlin.
Yes, with
Officially.
a bit of a welding issue there. They're welding and the back seat caught on fire of the car, but they got that handled. This Marlin is actually a really neat car. The little fun fact about the Marlin, that fastback Marlin predated the fastback virtually anything else. It was out before the Barracuda and all that stuff.
Looking very much like a first-generation Dodge Charger, actually. I'm going to say Dodge lifted that from AMC.
AMC would appreciate you saying that.
Look at that thing swim.
It is swimming. It is leaping above the ocean water. The
Sun glistening off.
I'll tell you. Wow. 1262 112 miles an hour.
That thing is 421 AMC powered, by the way. A little stroker 401. You criticize that sandwich and you're going to let me watch that happen?
I'm not letting you watch. I'm making you watch. There's a difference.
They walked out front and scraped that off the road and threw it on a bun.
Maybe they did. Tastes pretty good at this point. Yeah.
Oh, there he's got it together now. Remember, he turned the tire last time. Now he's got to look up. Kurt Bayer in the left-hand lane. He goes 6:21 to the 8th quarter-mile time. 9:84 with an 8 at 133 miles an hour. Billy Gebhardt, right-hand lane. 10:68 at 126.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I might not live up to the industrial standard you have set for yourself at Arby's, but this sandwich is actually pretty good. As Dennis Taylor backs through the water, he's going to come and heat up the rear tires, those big, wide slot mags on this car, and Man, that 850 on the brakes was darn tootin' impressive last time down.
Yeah, if you don't have gastrointestinal distress at some point during drag week, you're doing it wrong.
Well, that's why I'm gonna eat this sandwich and chase it with the Skittles, man. That's what you gotta do. That's the move.
The sandwich you're eating is giving me gastrointestinal distress.
Oh, I'm sorry, Captain Lettuce Guy. Sorry. Sorry, was that is that cucumbers and lettuce? Is that what you're eating?
I have no idea. I eat what Julia hands me.
A man knows what kind of sandwich he's eating. I'm just saying, you need to figure that out.
It's Julia's birthday today.
It is Julia's birthday today.
Yeah, video producer Julia, live feed producer Julia.
How old is Julia today?
Am I supposed to say that over the mic? 33?
Well, 33 years old. Wow. Dennis Taylor really has that car figured out now, and Taylor goes down 853 with an 8 at 175 miles per hour.
What the age?
HE double hockey sticks.
That guy knows how to make a car look right and run hard. He won the gasser class last year with the Ranchero that was here at Drag Week earlier, but that had something go wrong. He's actually out, I believe.
Yes, the Ranchero did not show up yesterday, so it is done. But boy, they brought this thing out. He is out. He's making some just exhibition runs, but goodness gracious, he really got that thing figured out. I think they were having a fuel problem that caused him to drop out earlier in the week, but man, they got that squared away because that thing is ripping 175 miles an hour.
Brian Loans, the dishes are done. We're calling this an official day of Drag Week. If you have not run right now, and if death falls out of the sky, you are out. We will run till 2 o'clock. Lanes will be open to 2 o'clock to keep on running.
So as we hail sandwiches like two people have never seen food before up here, Kevin Rolfe and Tom Clem head down the racetrack. Matt Kenning and Kevin Rolfe head down the racetrack. Rolfe's car, big steep gear in it, goes 1169.9, 114. He cruises down the road at about 35 miles an hour in that car.
You know what the secret to that car is? Motor wheel spiders.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's where all the magic lives.
Ferrone in lanes again. Not only in lanes, but just ahead of the burnout box. I've been brewing ideas for the next event that I need to put together. I'm thinking Fire Burnout Nationals.
The Fire Burnout Nationals, I like
Yeah.
it. They still do fire burnouts over in England at their big Santa Pa. They have a big nostalgia race every year. They actually have a fire burnout contest. It's really, really cool to watch.
I'm sure I could get that insured and cleared through the corporate attorneys.
No big.
Yeah.
Especially if you make every car run nitro. Yeah. What about that? You have to run a drag race. You must run a stock production-based motor on fuel.
Well,
A late model.
after the first pass, we'd be oiling down the rest of the day, and that guy would win because he was the only one on track.
I like that sound logic. Early bird gets the worm.
Can you give me John Henley's wife?
So John Henley Jr., John Henley won the Street Machine Eliminator category last year. His wife is celebrating a birthday today, so she is an intrepid companion out here in Drag Week and love to recognize the husband and wife teams that come and hang out. So John Hindley Jr.'s wife, happy birthday. We share it with Julia, the brainess of the video crew. John Ferrone with a temperature and trans temp that it is a shame that these runs are not counting for competition for Ferrone because of the fact he's Lightning program. At 99 miles an hour in the high-riding 55 Chevrolet. Patrick. It is Yost, the 4-speed. Watch the nose.
The same difficulty he had on his very last pass. Unusual. Usually that thing runs down the track like an anvil.
Well, here is the beauty of this event. Up until about 20 minutes ago, that car never did anything sideways or weird the entire week, and now all of a sudden it won't get out of its own way.
Yep.
On Ryan.
It's a lonely drag strip. We need some guys to get the lanes. Let's put on a show here.
So can't thank Gear Vendors enough for being the primary sponsor of Drag Week. Cannot thank Eastwood, the Eastwood Company, for being the sponsor of this year's live feed. Thank you for those of you that stuck with. There are thousands of you that did. We had a couple little up and down moments there early on, but as of late, thank you very much for sticking with us and watching it. It is, believe it or not, even in today's day and age, we get to places where it gets tricky, and this is one of those places. And that's what they always do. They figure a way around it. I think there might be somebody pedaling an exercise bike somewhere to keep it alive, but it's up and running. That's all that counts.
You wouldn't believe the miles of cable that we have to make this happen. None of this is really, wireless. These mics. We have to run cable all that you've ever seen on a drag racing line.
The stones out of the master's hand.
I don't want to miss a moment of Mike Finnegan in new Hellcat Challengers and Chargers and new Vipers. How do you think that's going to end?
You know what? Maybe with you being shamed.
We're well past that. I have no shame anymore. You can't. As evidenced by the fact that I'm standing right here right now.
Well, it's reminiscent in some contest, and they also brought in a new GT, a whole lineup of competitive cars.
They paid for it. They made it run. They got it here to drag.
And then bone everybody in the second group. We decided to take it and cut it closer than we normally do, so everybody get a shot. The lanes have been open for everybody from that point forward, and they will be open until it either rains or we hit 2 o'clock.
Right. Here's an interesting point from Rick down there at Gear Vendors. Past Drag Week competitor Kurt Akasik is at the hospital with his wife, and she's about to give birth. And they're watching the Drag Week live feed. Can you imagine being born and this is potentially the first thing that you see?
Well,
that would be awful.
The physical pain his wife is in is now being matched by the mental anguish of being stuck listening to us two chuckleheads talk to her in the background.
But congratulations to you folks. We're glad to see you watching on there. I'm sorry I mangled your last name, but I remember you guys racing with us. And you've got a solid reason for not being here. Unlike a lot of keyboard commandos who are at home criticizing everybody here at Drag Week while not even attempting to do it themselves.
I don't even think my own wife let me into the room when we had our kids, so I was glad to be in the room when they're having theirs.
Oh, I thought you meant when you created the child.
Come on, man. Because
that
now
left you with nothing.
You painted me into a corner that I can no longer strike back from. All right, fair enough. You're terrible. Billy Gebhardt and John Hindley coming up now. The Hindley and Gebhardt families.
A-body showdown, early cars, later cars. It's a little
bit of a match race, it looks like, out there. Hindley had the better reaction time by 3/10, but Billy Gebhardt comes down with more under the hood, goes 10:59.1, 125. Hindley, 11:03.9 at 119 miles per hour. So what did, I'm trying to remember what McGilton ran. It was 189 miles an hour again. Has he gone 190? He hasn't touched 190 in that car yet, has
No,
he?
I don't think so. But still, think of the performance out of that thing for fresh out of the box.
To me, I think tomorrow's his 190 day. I think what you got is a nice, and again, I'm saying safe, and people think when you say safe, you're being disrespectful. I'm not. They have it on a tune-up that they know is going to be fast, and the thing's not going to destroy itself. But then when you get it back to St. Louis, you make another 189 pass, and then it's like, all right, we're done this week. We've done what we need to accomplish. Now, what can it do? How would it be awesome to see that thing maybe go 195? Maybe it's got another 10 in it. Who knows?
It would be great. Yeah, safe is the difference between 28 pounds and 32.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
These guys know exactly where the limits in are a lot of this stuff because they are used to vaporizing pistons. At some point, it's just part of the game. It's a consumable.
What is the first turbocharged kind of hot rod that you were able to drive? I know you obviously have the F-bomb and stuff, but during your career, what is a turbo car that you got into that made you like, oh God, this is crazy?
Wow, that's a good question. I honestly don't have that much experience with turbo cars outside of my own. You know, I developed my impression the turbos were for diesels early on, as we were talking about, when there was no EFI and guys couldn't really get them to run right. And that was from driving around with, or watching the early fastest streetcar racing, and they just couldn't put a pass together. They had nothing on them. They hadn't figured out intercoolers. They hadn't figured out the EFI to the point where it would get the enrichment fast enough. They didn't have injectors that could handle it. Yeah, guys early on were trying to run 2 banks and things like that with a stock, you know, Chevy TPI injector.
It was crazy, yeah. It took a while, obviously, in the same front for like the Pro Mod clan to get it right. But Mike Moran was, of course, the first guy that went 5s in a turbocharged door slammer, and he was a guy that really led the way in a lot of the stuff. His injectors and all the stuff that he did. That Monte Carlo, he had that famous, I think it was a famous story in Hot Rod, the I Will Go 5 story.
Yep.
And he did it.
He did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big Babe Ruth moment right there when he went in and said in Hot Rod magazine, I will run 5s before having ever gotten close. I've seen some guys, you know, step on their giblets with track shoes on that kind of claim.
There was many blended giblets over the years of claims and or verbose statements that just completely upended the other way.
So let's go back into more like Fauble Brothers territory. Would you say that they were the first ones to mess around with turbos on a stock-bodied car in earnest?
Okay, so the Fauble car was, you know who built the turbo setup and stuff on that?
And just to give everyone context, I think we're talking about 1964.
Yeah, this is Bud Fauble, was a Chrysler dealer in Pennsylvania. He had run for years stock and super stock cars, and obviously running Dodges and Plymouths. Was it a Dodge, the Hemi Honker, a Dodge or a Plymouth?
Hemi Honker 64 Dodge.
Dodge. Another funny story outside of this was when in '62 he got a Max Wedge car, which came from out the back door of the factory with no exhaust or anything on it. He got in it in Detroit in the middle of the wintertime and drove it back to Pennsylvania as it was delivered out of the back of the factory. Anyway, he had a twin turbocharged Hemi car called the Turbo Honker. And the guy who founded Turbonetics is the one who did all the work on the turbo system.
Oh, okay.
He built that thing, and he did it for nothing. And he did it at his house to try to figure stuff out. This thing had a pair of, at the time, massive Garrett turbochargers on it. A lot of stuff was actually mounted in the trunk. It was kind of a harbinger of things to come. But anyway, 1964, this thing goes and traps at over 160 miles an hour, which is just beyond anything anybody was doing at the time. Super inconsistent, virtually impossible to get it down the track. And the 1 out of 10 times it did, it would do something spectacular. But it wasn't around for very long. He did the work. Garrett wanted the stuff back. They actually had the turbos on loan. And it was just kind of an experiment that came and went.
Malakote Brothers.
Malakote Brothers is another good one. That's 1963. The Malakote Brothers have a Willys gasser with a 327 in it. They get a set of Garrett turbos because they were about the only manufacturer you could get stuff from at that point. They built a setup where it was a pair of these Garrett turbochargers drawing through a set of Carter carburetors, and they went on to win the AA gas class at the Winter Nationals in 1963 with the turbocharged car.
And went on to build some other cars as well, like the funny car that I think
Yes.
was on the cover of CarCraft magazine because one of the brothers worked at CarCraft.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they were twins.
Okay. Yeah, they were turbo stalwarts through the 70s. They had a couple of comp cars. They had the funny car. They had some late gassers. And then they came back and they have a turbo Pro Mod now. So they're in the Pro Mod realm still. But yeah, you know, as a kid, I was older when I was, you know, I got like everybody, big stack of magazines at home. Your your comments in Carcraft were preceded by Len Emanuelson's comments in Hot Rod about turbochargers back in the early 80s, which was in big bold letters in an editorial, turbochargers will never work in drag racing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Of course, those were the years when he was putting 2.2 four-cylinder Chryslers on the cover of the magazine as well. Speaking of four-cylinder and six-cylinder, you go back to Ack Miller, one of the really early proponents of turbocharging. Ack, obviously, having gone way back in time to being one of the original hot rodders involved with Hot Rod Magazine for a long, long time. Ran that El Caballo at the Panamericana road race. Legendary guy. But he got into turbocharging those inline six Falcon motors and later Pinto four-cylinders. Hold on just a sec here.
So on the drag racing front and the dragster side of things, Adams and Enriquez was a team, a junior fuel team out in California. Gene Adams and Don Enriquez, just untouchable. They were mowing guys down left, right, and center, and they were looking for another kind of advantage. So they actually built was it a twin or a single? It was either, I think it might have been a single.
Sure.
It was a, I believe, well, anyway, it was a turbocharged Hemi combination to run in their junior fueler, and they could not get a handle on it. The fun story about that, the complete engine sits under the bench at Hillborn Injection today.
I've heard that. Chase Knight.
Chase Knight. Okay, so Chase Knight, and the name of the guy who owned the car is escaping me, but a guy named Chase Knight, who is a camshaft guru, who was one of the lead guys at Crane Camshafts.
He's still there. Been there since time began.
He has the most luscious beard you've ever seen in your life. It
Absolutely.
is a mane of white springing from his face.
Yeah, Billy Gibbons is backing up compared
Yes.
to Chase Knight. Absolutely.
Well, during the 70s, he drove a car called the Golden Gator down in Division 3, so down in the southeastern part of the United States. This was an alcohol dragster that ran in the Pro Comp category that was turbocharged and supercharged. It was compound boost, all mechanical stuff going on, and this is the 1970s. It was never really a player on the national level, but it won, I believe they won the Divisional Pro Comp Championship somewhere in the mid-70s. The car then went and sat on top of a restaurant entry point for years and years. It's been restored, and it's at Don Garlett's Museum.
Can you imagine trying to make that work with mechanical fuel injection?
Incredible. And the other thing to think about too, when you're talking about mechanical injection and turbos, you go to Ohio George Montgomery, had a twin turbocharged Boss 429 powered Mustang gasser that I think that thing may have gone 175 miles an hour, somewhere in 74 in the early 1970s. So that thing, again, mechanically fuel injected. That car has been restored. And you look at that car and you go, that is literally a guy who is thinking way ahead of everybody else.
Way.
The plumbing on it is incredible. Everything is great. And today we take cars at Drag Week with twin turbos on engines for granted. But back then, that car was space technology.
Gale Banks, turbo top fuel.
Gale Banks had a turbocharged top fuel car in like 82 or 83, and they put the kibosh on that before they were able to make any serious inroads and performance-wise of a turbocharged top fuel car. They put the brakes on that program pretty quick.
We'll talk about how Buddy Ingersoll foobarred that entire program for everybody.
Well, yeah, and we can go back. You can actually go back a little bit earlier than that. In the late 70s, Ingersoll and Ohio George Montgomery both had great success. Ingersoll won a national championship in Comp Eliminator in 77, maybe, with a four-cylinder turbocharged Pinto that made somewhere 500-600 horsepower. And he ran that car very successfully, was a national champion, won a ton of events. And that is where Ingersoll really started to cut his teeth in turbocharging. Cut to 1987, was it? I think it was 87. He buys an ex-Warren Johnson Oldsmobile, reskins it as a Buick, and puts a turbo Buick V6 in the front of it with the intention of running it in Pro Stock. He runs it in an IHRA. He never ran it in NHRA Pro Stock. He did use it in Comp Eliminator. But IHRA, then owned by Ted Jones, said, yeah, this could be good for the show. Go ahead and put it in. And he had gone to a couple races and things that kind of like, man, not the greatest. Well, then he gets to Bristol that year. Bristol at the time was a very big, very high-profile race for IHRA. Qualifies okay, and then he starts mowing them down. He makes it to the final round, where by the time he makes it to the final, Ted Jones was saying they had already circled the tower with the torches. He loses to the final round to Ricky, I think it was Ricky Smith that beat him, or maybe it was Glidden that beat him. Either way, it was the one and only time a turbo V6 was ever allowed to run in IHRA Pro Stock, and it was never allowed to run in NHRA Pro Stock.
I'm going to need you to just go ahead and brush up on your off-the-cuff drag racing history.
Well, we skipped over an alcohol funny car on the West Coast in the 80s that ran a twin turbo. It was a Pontiac Firebird bodied car that used one of Don Perdome's
Perdome's old car, yep.
And the names of the guys that ran it escaped me, but they had a turbocharged on alcohol Pontiac engine in the thing, a Pontiac architecture engine in there. Not much success, but again, some guys thinking outside of the box.
Are you sure that it wasn't Pontiac-headed Chevy stuff?
Oh, you know what? That's what it was.
Yep.
You're 100% right. It was Pontiac-headed Chevy motor that they had in the thing with the twin turbos. And, yeah, just didn't... It was an experiment that they tried, and I don't think they ever... I'm not sure they ever qualified, or if they did, I'm not sure they ever really made any noise in eliminations.
So you've announced every class possible in NHRA. What is the state of turbos in the NHRA right now?
Well, the state of turbos in the NHRA, really, when you look at Pro Mod right now, the big thing that happened is just actually, it's a good question because it's relevant. The turbo cars have always been very quick. They've always been very quick, but what's happened is they've run these real quick elapsed times, but the guys have always been kind of smart enough, if you will, to lift at the top end and not run the huge speed. Well, at Indy, one of the turbo guys Rick Snavely ran 258 miles an hour, which was the fastest, or the second fastest speed the class has ever seen, and the fastest speed in like 5 years. Actually, maybe the fastest speed ever. But either way, it was the fastest speed run after like a 5-year hiatus of a rule change. So when you had other cars, Precision Turbo car, a great example, that car runs in the low 580s, but it would mile an hour in the low 250s. And Don Walsh is a great driver in that thing, and they're a championship threat. They've won races this year. But when Snavely came out, was running the numbers, competitive elapsed times, and all of a sudden he started putting 258 mile an hour speeds on the board. The red lights dropped down from the ceiling, and the whoop, 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 siren
Flares
went
go off.
and all of a sudden everybody was running around to find the tech department and figure out what's going on. So, again, like we see out here, the back half of the racetrack is where all the power is, where they can really feed the boost on. And so, turbos in any trade, there's a lot of them now in comp eliminator. There's a guy at the U.S. Nationals with a dragster running in comp that had a 4G63 Mitsubishi engine, 123 cube engine, going in the low mid-sixes, I'm sorry. So turbos in NHRA, there's a lot of them and a lot more coming.
Well, unfortunately, I've got some news for us, which is why we're down to minutes and I cut you off there. We have a major thundercloud coming in, and
Wow.
we're worried that it is going to hit our equipment. We've got camera guys on lifts who we don't want out there in the lightning. We've got cable run everywhere. We need to scramble to get
Okay.
our live feed program shut down, so we're going to do that right now. Thank you very much to Eastwood Company for sponsoring this deal. To everybody who's watching, we will be back live in St. Louis tomorrow and on Saturday. And so we'll see you again next time. Hot Rod Drag Week, presented by Gear Vendors. Bam!
Still on, you guys, hang on.
Ready?
Bam! Yeah, let's do the police squad.